In the hospital room, when Jin Yan held my hand, his eyes brimming with tenderness, Xinyue, the doctor says I don't have much time left. I want to leave all my assets to Wan Wan. I froze. You're different. You're only the one who's been taking care of me. But Wan Wan is a dancer. She needs money to live with dignity. His voice was soft, but every word cut like a knife. And if you hadn't deliberately staged that act back then, Wan Wan and I would have been together long ago. You've used that life-saving favor to hold me hostage for so many years. Enough. I let go of his hand, my heart turning to ashes. To save him, I gave up my admission letter to the University of Aeronautics and Astronautics to care for him. I studied nursing 10 years of youth, only to be called acting and blackmail by him after signing the agreement to renounce the inheritance. I said softly, okay, when I opened my eyes again. I was back in the summer. I was 18. Chapter 1, June 7th, 2024, the second day of the college entrance exam. I was sitting in the exam hall, staring at the physics paper in front of me, but when Jin Yan's dying words kept echoing in my head, if you hadn't deliberately staged that act back then, acting, I let out a cold laugh and wrote as fast as I could. At this very moment in my previous life, I had been anxiously waiting in the hospital corridor for the results of Wen Jinyan's surgery to rush over and save him. I missed the 2 afternoon exams. I'd scored 689 on the mock exam, but in the end I only got just over 400 points. In this life, I'm taking back everything I lost. After the exam, I went straight home and ignored the non-stop notification sounds on my phone. Xinyue, where are you? When Jin Yan was in a car accident. Come to the hospital now. He's badly hurt. The doctor said if he'd been brought in just 1 hour later, he might not have made it. I turned off my phone and ate dinner calmly. My mom, Lin Shuya, put down her chopsticks and looked at me with concern. Xinyue, do you know what happened at Uncle Wen's house? I know. I picked up a piece of braised pork. What does that have to do with me? But, Mom, I said, looking up at her, when Jin Yan was driving because he was chasing after Su Wan Wan, the crash was entirely his own fault. Why should I go? Lin Shuya froze for a moment, as if it were the first time she had heard her daughter speak so calmly. You two grew up together, so I'm supposed to pay for his stupidity. I put down my chopsticks. Mom, I'm 18, I can make my own judgments. At that moment, Dad, Lin Jiangwo, pushed the door open and came in, his face grave. Xinyue, Uncle Wen asked me to see if you could go check on Wen Jinyan. He's been calling out your name. I shook my head lightly. I still have an exam tomorrow. But, Dad, I said, standing up, in my past life, I gave up my future for him. This time, I won't make the same mistake. Lin Jiangwo looked at his wife in confusion. What is she talking about? Lin Shuya shook her head to show she didn't know. I went back to my room, took out my aerospace engineering study materials, and started previewing my college courses. This time, I'm going to walk my own path. My phone rang again. It was an unknown number. Hello, may I speak with Lin Xinyue? I'm a nurse at the City People's Hospital. Wu Jingyan has been calling out your name all this time, and he's in a rather bad condition right now. I hung up immediately, then I blocked the number. The summer evening breeze drifted in through the window, carrying a faint scent of flowers. I looked at the physics reference book on the desk, a slight smile curling at the corners of my lips. In this life, I, Lin Xinyue, will live only for myself. Chapter 2. The next day was the final day of the college entrance exam. I walked into the exam hall full of energy, without the unease I had felt in my previous life. Halfway through the chemistry exam, the sound of an ambulance suddenly came from outside. Some of my classmates were distracted, but I kept my focus and worked through the questions. After the exam ended, the proctor smiled at us and said, "Everyone, the college entrance exam is over." Cheers erupted in the classroom, and everyone was hugging each other and taking photos to remember the moment. I packed up my stationery and got ready to leave. Xinyue, I heard hurried footsteps behind me, and when I turned around, I saw the class monitor. Zhang Yue, why have you been unreachable these past 2 days? Do you know what happened to Wen Jinyan? Got it. Zhang Yue froze for a moment. Then why aren't you going to the hospital? I heard he was badly injured and has been calling your name all along. I gave her a flat look. Why would I go? But you too. What about us? I cut her off. He crashed into a tree while driving after Su Wan Wan. What does that have to do with me? Zhang Yue's mouth fell open. Xinyue, how can you be so heartless? You grew up together, and now that he's like this, so I'm supposed to give up my own life to take care of him. I sneered. Zhang Yue, if you think he's so pitiful, why don't you take care of him? After saying that, I turned and left, leaving Zhang Yue standing there in shock. Once I was out of the school, I took a deep breath. Freedom feels so good. When I got home, my parents were already waiting for me in the living room. Xinyue, how did it go? Lin Xia asked with concern. Pretty well, I should be able to get into Beihang University. Lin Jiangwo's eyes lit up. Really? I nodded, silently adding to myself, in my previous life, my mock exam scores were already enough to meet Beihang's cutoff. This time, they'll only be better. Oh, right. Lin Xia suddenly remembered something. Uncle Wen called and said Jingyan's condition has stabilized a bit. But what? The doctor said his spine was severely injured, and he may end up paralyzed. Lin Xia's voice cracked slightly. Uncle Wen asked if you'd be willing to go see him. I said blankly, no, Xinyue. Lin Jiangwo frowned. However you look at it, you two grew up together. Now that he's like this is his own choice, I said coldly, driving without a license, speeding, all for a woman who doesn't love him at all. These are the consequences, but Jingyan has always treated you as the most important person. Then why did he go after Su Wanwan? I shot back. If I really mattered, would he have messed himself up like this for another woman? Lin Jiangwo and Lin Xia exchanged a glance, both left speechless because I was right. If when Jingyan really cared about me, he wouldn't do something this dangerous for Su Wanwan at a critical time like the college entrance exam. I'm tired, I'm going back to my room to rest. I turned and went upstairs, and behind me I could hear my parents talking in low voices. It looks like Xinyue has changed. I guess she's grown up, she's finally figured some things out. Yes, I had figured it out. The Lin Xinyue from my previous life, the one who was crazed with love and could give up everything for a man, was already dead. The person I am now lives only for myself. Chapter 3. The next few days were peaceful. I spend most days at home reviewing my college courses, and occasionally go out with my high school classmates. Word about Wen Jingyan had spread like wildfire among our classmates, but no one dared bring it up in front of me. It was probably Zhang Yue who told the others how I felt about it. On the evening of the 5th day, Uncle Wen Jianhua came to my house. He looked much more haggard, with a few more white hairs. Xinyue, Uncle is begging you to go see Jingyan, he said with red-rimmed eyes. He's in really bad shape right now and still refuses to cooperate with treatment. Sitting on the sofa, I looked at him calmly. Uncle Wen, forgive my bluntness, but when Jingyan brought this on himself, but he drove without a license while chasing Su Wanwan and ended up badly injured. That was his choice, I said coldly. I have no duty to take responsibility for his choices. When Jianhua froze, apparently never expecting Lin Xinyue, who had always been so well-behaved and obedient, to say something like that. Xinyue, how could you do this? Jingyan has always what? Always liked me. I let out a cold laugh. If he really liked me, he wouldn't have driven off to chase someone for Su Wanwan on the day of the college entrance exam. He was just acting on impulse. The consequence of acting on impulse is paralysis. That's the reality. I stood up. Uncle Wen, I sympathize with what happened to you, but I won't ruin my own life just because I feel sorry for you. When Jianhua's face turned pale, and his body swayed unsteadily, Lin Jiangwo hurried over to support him. Old Wen, don't get worked up. Jiangwo, when Jianhua grabbed Lin Jiangwo's hand, please talk to Xinyue for me. Jingyan really can't live without her. The doctor says he's showing serious signs of depression now. If this goes on, I understand. I'll have a good talk with Xinyue. After when Jianhua left, both Lin Jiangwo and Lin Xia looked at me. Xinyue, have you really made up your mind? Lin Jiangwo asked. I nodded. Mom, Dad, I know you have soft hearts, but I'm not backing down on this. Lin Xia sighed, but seeing old one like that, I don't feel any better either. Mom, if I give up my studies and my dreams to take care of Wen Jingyan, and then regret it later, will you take that burden for me? Lin Xia fell silent. I want to get into Beihang, study aerospace engineering, and contribute to the country's space program, I said seriously. That's my dream, and I won't give it up for anyone. Lin Jinghua nodded. Good, Dad supports you. Lin Xia nodded as well. Mom supports you too. Warmth spread through my heart. In my previous life, my parents had supported my choices like this too. It was a pity that back then, I'd been so blinded by love that I let them down and failed to live up to their expectations. In this life, I won't let them down again. In the middle of the night, my phone rang again. It was Su Wanwan calling. Xinyue, can you come to the hospital? Jingyan is in really bad shape. Her voice sounded anxious, but I could hear a hint of insincerity. In my last life, I was fooled by that fake kindness of hers and thought she truly cared about Wen Jingyan. Only later did I realize she was just putting on an act. I'm not going. I refused outright. Xinyue, I know you have issues with Jingyan, but right now Su Wanwan, I cut her off, wasn't Wen Jingyan in that car crash because you broke up with him on the day of the college entrance exam, and he got so impulsive that he drove after you. There was a few seconds of silence on the other end of the line. Xi and you, how could you say that? I never expected something like this to happen, really. Then why don't you get back together with him now? If you care about him so much, why don't you take care of him yourself? Su Wanwan stammered. Cut the act, Su Wanwan, you don't love him at all. You just want someone else to take on the responsibility of taking care of him for you. I finished coldly and hung up the phone without another word. Then I blocked Su Wanwan's number 2. The world was finally peaceful. Chapter 4. A week later, the college entrance exam results were out. I scored 697. That's even higher than my practice exam score in my previous life. Lin Jiangwo and Lin Shuya were so excited that tears welled up in their eyes. Xingyue, you're amazing. Lin Shuya hugged me tightly. Beiheng is in the bag. I was thrilled too, but more than anything, I felt a huge sense of relief at last. I could make up for the regret from my previous life. We have to celebrate, Lin Jiangwo said excitedly. Let's eat at the best hotel tonight. Just then, the doorbell rang. Lin Jiangwo went to answer the door, and when he came back, his expression was a little complicated. It's Uncle Wen. He wants to see you. I frowned, but still walked toward the door when Jianhua looked at me. And a complicated emotion flashed in his eyes. Xingyue, I heard you scored 697, congratulations. His voice was bitter. If Jingyan knew, he'd be happy for you. I didn't say anything. Xingyue, I'm begging you one last time, please go see Jingyan. When Jianhua's voice was choked with emotion, the doctor said his willpower is breaking down. If this goes on, Uncle Wen, I cut him off. Have Wen Jingyan's college entrance exam results come out yet? When Jianhua froze for a moment, they're out. He got 568. What university does he want to go to? He'd originally wanted to apply to medical school, but with this score, when Jianhua gave a bitter smile, besides, with his current physical condition, there's no way he could study medicine now. So in other words, he completely ruined his own life plan. When Jianhua fell silent, Uncle Wen, I'm under no obligation to take responsibility for his life plan, I said coldly. He chose to take a risk for Su Wanwan, and now he has to face the consequences. But Xingyue, if you truly feel sorry for your son, then you should let him learn to take responsibility, instead of expecting someone else to clean up the mess. After saying that, I turned and went back into the house, leaving Wen Jianhua standing alone at the door. Although I felt a little sorry, I knew I couldn't let myself soften in my last life. It was precisely because I softened that I ruined my own entire life. This life, I would never make the same mistake again. That evening, the three of us went to the finest hotel to celebrate. During dinner, Lin Jiangwo answered a phone call. When he came back, his face was grave. What is it? Lin Shuya asked. When Jinyan tried to kill himself, my chopsticks paused for a moment. Then I went on eating as if nothing had happened. What? Lin Shuya exclaimed. How could this happen? He fell out of his wheelchair and hit his head on the metal rail beside the bed. He's still in the emergency room, Lin Jiangwo sighed. Uncle Wen asked me to find out whether Xingyue would be willing to go to the hospital. I put down my chopsticks and wiped my mouth. No, Xingyue, Dad, Mom, I looked at them seriously. Whether Wen Jinyan lives or dies has nothing to do with me. Whether he chooses to live or die is his own decision, and I won't change my mind just because he threatens me. Lin Jiangwo and Lin Shuya exchanged a glance, then finally nodded. All right, we support your decision. I smiled, warmth filling my heart. I'm lucky to have parents like them. After getting home, I turned on my computer and started looking up the course offerings for Beiheng University's aerospace engineering program. Starting next September, I'll be moving toward my dream. As for Wen Jinyan, he can do whatever he wants. I'm no longer the Lin Xingyue who would give up everything just to save him. My phone suddenly rang. It was an unknown number. I didn't answer. Soon after, a text came in. Xingyue, it's Su Wanwan. Jinyan is in very bad shape right now. The doctor said he may not make it through the night. He keeps calling your name, begging you to come see him. After reading the text, I let out a cold laugh. Then I deleted the message. Su Wanwan, do you think I'm still that foolish girl from my past life? Chapter 5. The next morning, I was woken by a knock at the door. When I went downstairs, when Jianhua, Mrs. Wen, Suya, and Su Wanwan were standing at the door. Mrs. Wen's eyes were red and swollen. She had clearly been crying all night. Xingyue, please, save Jingyan, she cried as soon as she saw me. The doctor says he's in a very serious suicidal state right now. You're the only one who can talk him down. Su Wanwan also put on a look of concern beside her. Xingyue, I know I've let Jingyan down, but seeing him like this, we're all really worried. I looked at them coldly. If you're both so worried, why don't you take care of him? Why come looking for me? Because he only listens to you, Madam Wen said anxiously. Ever since he was little, you're the only one who can calm him down. That was Before, I said indifferently, now, I'm under no obligation to be responsible for his emotions. Su Wanwan suddenly stepped forward. Xingyue, I know you hate me. It's all my fault. I'm the one who ruined Jingyan. But you can't just stand by and watch him die. I let out a cold laugh. Su Wanwan, stop putting on a show here. If you really feel sorry for him, then get back together with him and take care of him yourself. Su Wanwan's expression changed. That's not what I meant. Then what do? You mean, that I should give up my studies to look after him, while you go on living your carefree life? I'd hit a nerve, and Su Wanwan's face turned ugly when Jianhua spoke up then. Xingyue, I'm begging you, we can give you money, a lot of money, as long as you're willing to take care of Jin Yen. Uncle Wen, I interrupted him, I don't lack money, what I lack is my own life. But Jin Yen, but what? He risked his life for Su Wanwan, and now he wants to die for Su Wanwan again. Those are all his own choices. My voice rose. Why should I pay for his stupidity? Mrs. Wen suddenly knelt down. Xingyue, Auntie is begging you. Jin Yen is our only son. If he dies, we won't be able to go on living either. Seeing Mrs. Wen kneeling on the floor, I felt a flicker of hesitation, but soon, I remembered the things when Jin Yen had said before he died in my previous life. You're just the person taking care of me. You've been holding that life-saving favor over me for so many years. I closed my eyes. And when I opened them again, I had regained my composure. And when, please get up, my voice was calm. I understand how you feel, but I won't change my decision. Mrs. Wen looked at me in disbelief. Xingyue, how could you be so heartless? Heartless? I let out a cold laugh. When Jin Yen drove after someone for Su Wanwan on the day of the college entrance exam, did he ever think about how I felt? Did he ever think about how you all would feel? Mrs. Wen was left speechless. Did he think about the consequences when he made that choice? And now that something has happened, he wants someone else to take the blame. Is that fair? At that moment, Su Wanwan suddenly said, Xingyue, I know you hate me, but Jin Yen is innocent. Innocent. I turned to look at her, my eyes full of sarcasm. Su Wanwan, stop pretending to be some saint here. If you really think when Jin Yen is innocent, then marry him and take care of him for the rest of your life. Su Wanwan's face turned pale. I still have to go to university, and I don't have to go to university. I asked coldly, why should you get to have your own life, while I have to sacrifice mine to take care of a man who ruined himself for you? Su Wanwan was left speechless by the question. Yes, why should I have to pay for their love? Why should I have to spend my youth patching up their mess? XINU, when Jianhua made one last attempt. If you're willing to take care of Jin Yan, we're willing to give you everything we own. I shook my head. Uncle Wen, I don't want your money. I just want to live the life I want. With that, I turned and went back into the house. Behind me, I heard Mrs. Wen's sobs, and when Jianhua's sighs, I knew they would think I was cold and heartless, but I didn't care. The Lin Xinu who had once been kind to the point of foolishness was already dead. From now on, I would live only for myself. Chapter 6. A month later, I received my acceptance letter from Beihang University Aerospace Engineering. Holding that red acceptance letter, I was so excited I almost cried. This was the university and major I had longed for all my life, and also a regret I had missed out on in my past life. Xingyue, Lin Shuya sprang up excitedly. Beihang, it really is Beihang. Lin Zhangwo was grinning from ear to ear too. My daughter is going to college in Beijing, and in aerospace engineering. The three of us hugged each other, all of us as happy as children. Just then, the phone rang. It was my homeroom teacher, Mr. Wang, calling. Xingyue, congratulations on getting into Beihang. Mr. Wang said excitedly, you were our school's top scorer this year. Thank you, Teacher Wang. By the way, Teacher Wang said hesitantly, do you know what's going on with Wen Jin Yen? My smile faded. I don't know, and I don't want to know. Xingyue, I know there may have been some misunderstanding between you two, but Wen Jin Yen really needs someone by his side right now. Teacher Wang, I interrupted. What's happened to Wen Jin Yen is of his own making. He has the right to choose his own path in life, and I have the right to choose mine. Teacher Wang was silent for a moment. All right, I understand. I hope you enjoy your time at Beihang. After hanging up, I went back to discussing the move to Beijing with my parents, but before long, there was another knock at the door. This time it was my high school classmates, Zhang Yue and Li Xiaoyu. Xingyue, congratulations on getting into Beihang, Zhang Yue said with a smile, though it looked a little forced. Thank you, I replied politely. Li Xiaoyu hesitated for a moment before finally speaking. Xingyue, we want to talk to you about Wen Jin Yen. I frowned. What happened to him? He's in really bad shape, Zhang Yue said cautiously. I heard he's been refusing treatment and won't see anyone. The doctor says he has severe depression. And, I asked coldly, you want me to go see him? The two girls looked at each other and both nodded. Xingyue, we know when Jinyan wronged you, but you did grow up together as childhood friends. Li Xiaoyu tried to persuade me. Friends, I sneered. Would a real friend wreck himself like this over another woman at a crucial time like the college entrance exam? But right now whatever he's doing now is his own choice, I said without mercy. I'm not a savior, and I have no duty to rescue everyone who makes the wrong choice. Zhang Yue was a little upset. Xingyue, how did you become so cold-hearted? You weren't like this before. I was too naive before, I said lightly. Now all I want is to live for myself. But when Jin Yan is really pitiful, I cut off Li Xiaoyu. Then what about Su Wanwan? Why doesn't she take care of him? Isn't she his girlfriend? The two girls fell silent again, because Su Wanwan had long since vanished without a trace. They said she went to college in another city and never contacted Wen Jinyan again. Look, even Su Wanwan is unwilling to take responsibility. So why should I? I went on. I don't owe him anything. But back then what? Because I liked him back then, I had to sacrifice everything for him. I looked at them coldly. What kind of reasoning is that? Zhang Yue and Li Xiaoyu were both left speechless by what I said. Xingyue, we just want you to go see him, not take care of him for the rest of your life. Zhang Yue finally made one last effort. I'm not going. I refused flatly. I don't want to see him, and I don't want anything to do with him. The two girls left disappointed. I knew that from now on, I would have a very poor image in my classmates' eyes, but I didn't care. I'd rather be called cold-hearted than repeat the mistakes of my previous life. Chapter 7. At the end of August, I was getting ready to head to Beijing for school. During this time, I lived a full and busy life. Every day I read, worked out, studied English, and prepared for college life. I never paid attention to Wen Jinyan's situation again. When I occasionally heard my parents mention it, I treated it as news that had nothing to do with me. I heard his condition went up and down. Sometimes he cooperated with treatment, and other times he wanted to kill himself. The Wen family nearly went bankrupt trying to care for him, but none of that had anything to do with me. The night before I left, I was packing my bags when the doorbell suddenly rang. Lin Jiangwo went to answer the door and soon came back, looking a little complicated. Xingyue, when Jin Yan is here. I froze for a moment. He's here. Yeah, he came in a wheelchair. Lin Jiangwo looked at me. Do you want to see him? I hesitated for a few seconds, then finally nodded. Might as well see him and make things clear. I went downstairs to the living room and saw Wen Jinyan sitting in a wheelchair. He had lost a lot of weight compared to a month ago. His face was pale, and his eyes were dull and lifeless. When he saw me, a flicker of light flashed in his eyes, but it quickly faded again. Xingyue, he said hoarsely, congratulations on getting into Beihang University. Thank you. I sat down on the sofa opposite him, keeping a safe distance. We sat in silence for a while. Xingyue, I'm sorry. When Jinyan suddenly spoke, his voice filled with deep regret. I know I'd done a lot of wrong. I shouldn't have. On the day of the college entrance exam, for Luan, when Jinyan, I cut him off. You don't need to apologize to me. You have the right to choose your own life, just as I have the right to choose mine. He let out a bitter smile. I know you hate me. I don't hate you, I said calmly. Hate requires feelings, and I don't have any feelings for you anymore. When Jinyan's face instantly turned even paler. Xingyue, what? You want me to stay and take care of you? I looked at him coldly. When Jinyan, I'm not your maid, and I'm not your savior. That's not what I meant. Then why did you come looking for me? I stood up. If you just wanted to see me, then you've seen me. If you wanted me to forgive you, I already have. When Jinyan's eyes turned red. Xingyue, I know I've wronged you, but I truly regret it. What's the point of regretting it? I gave a cold laugh. What exactly do you regret? Regretting falling in love with Su Wanwan, or regretting not choosing me? When Jinyan opened his mouth, but no words came out. When Jinyan, listen carefully. I walked up to him and looked down at him. From this life on, there will be no more connection between us, whether you live well or want to die. It has nothing to do with me. Xingyue, I'm leaving for Beijing tomorrow. From this moment on, we're strangers. My voice was cold. I hope you understand that. After saying that, I turned around and headed upstairs. Xingyue, when Jingyan suddenly called out my name loudly, if time could rewind, I would never choose Wanwan. I'd choose you. I stopped and turned back to look at him. If time could rewind, I let out a cold laugh. When Jingyan, time doesn't rewind. And even if it did, I still wouldn't choose you. When Jingyan froze there as if struck by lightning. Because I can see it clearly now. You're not worth it at all. After saying that, I went upstairs without looking back. Behind me, I could hear Wen Jingyan stifled sobs. But I didn't turn around. I've cried enough tears in my past life. This life it's his turn to cry. Chapter 8. The next day, my parents took me to the airport. While we were waiting at the boarding lounge, we talked about my plans for college life. Xingyue, take good care of yourself when you get to Beijing, Lin Xia said, reluctant to part. Call home if you get homesick. I know, I nodded, feeling warm inside. And remember, Lin Jiangwo reminded me, studies are important, but you need to take care of your health too. Don't overwork yourself. Dad, I will. Just then, the boarding lounge announcement came over the PA. Flight CA-1234 to Beijing is now boarding. I stood up and hugged my parents. Mom, Dad, I'm leaving. Go ahead and study hard. I dragged my suitcase toward the boarding gate, my heart full of excitement and anticipation. A new life was about to begin after takeoff. I looked out at the clouds outside the window, feeling lighter than I ever had before. No more Wen Jinyan clinging to me, no more moral blackmail, no more pointless sacrifice. At last, I could live for myself. After arriving in Beijing, I went through the enrollment process smoothly and moved into the dormitory. My roommates were 3 girls from different cities, and they were all very friendly. Lin Xinyue, what a poetic name, said a girl named Zhao Xinran with a smile. Thank you, I smiled too. Another girl, Wang Xiyu, asked, where are you from? From Jiangnan City. The third girl, Li Jiayin, asked curiously, how did you end up choosing aerospace engineering? There aren't many girls in this major. Because I love it, I replied simply. I'd dreamed since I was little of taking part in our country's aerospace program. Wow, that's amazing. All 3 girls were full of admiration. We quickly got to know each other, going to the cafeteria together for meals and wandering around campus together. Beihang's campus is beautiful, with a strong atmosphere of technology everywhere you look. Looking at those aerospace exhibits, I was filled with longing. This is the life I want. That night, lying in my dorm bed, I picked up my phone to let my parents know I was safe. Mom, Dad, I've arrived at school. Everything's fine. That's good. Make sure you study hard. After hanging up, I looked up at the ceiling, feeling calm and content. Then, my phone suddenly rang. It was an unknown number. I hesitated for a moment, but still answered it. Hello, Xinyue, it's me, Wen Jinyan. A familiar voice came through the phone. I frowned. How did you get my number? I asked uncle and auntie for it. Wen Jinyan's voice was very weak. Xinyue, I want to say a few words to you. There's nothing to say. I was about to hang up. Xinyue, wait, Wen Jinyan said anxiously. I just want to tell you that I truly regret it. If I could do it all over again, I would never have chosen Wan. Wen Jinyan, I cut him off coldly. You already said all this yesterday, and besides, there is no if. Xinyue, I know I'm not worthy of how outstanding you are now, but I'm willing to wait for you. Wait for me, I sneered. Wen Jinyan, get this straight. I don't have any feelings for you anymore. Waiting a lifetime won't make a difference, Xinyue, and don't call me again. I don't want to hear your voice. After saying that, I hung up and blocked the number. My roommates all looked at me with concern in their eyes. Xinyue, what's wrong? Your ex? Zhao Xinran asked carefully. I shook my head. Not really, just someone who doesn't know how to let go. Then you need to be careful. People like that can sometimes do extreme things. Wang Xiyu reminded me. Yeah, I know. But I knew very well that Wen Jinyan wouldn't do anything extreme. He doesn't even have the courage to kill himself now, let alone hurt anyone else. Besides, we were thousands of miles apart. Even if he wanted to cling to me, he couldn't. I was finally completely free. Chapter 9. College life was even richer and more exciting than I had imagined. The aerospace engineering courses were challenging, but I was learning with real enjoyment every day. I immersed myself in an ocean of knowledge, feeling myself getting closer and closer to my dream. I also joined the school's model aircraft club, working with like-minded classmates to build all kinds of flying machines. Xinyue, your design is really impressive. The club president praised me. Are you interested in taking part in the National College Students Aerospace Model Championship? Of course I am. My eyes lit up. My life was so full and fulfilling that I had almost forgotten about Wen Jinyan. It wasn't until a month later that my mom called. Xinyue, I need to tell you something. Lin Xia's tone was a little heavy. What is it? Wen Jinyan, he passed away. My hand holding the phone froze for a moment, my feelings in turmoil. How did he die? Uncle Wen said it was an infection brought on by complications, and they couldn't save him. Lin Xia sighed. He was still so young when he passed. What a shame. I was silent for a moment. Are his parents okay? They're heartbroken. Of course, he was their only son. But they also said that for someone like Jinyan, maybe this was a relief. I replied softly. Xinyue, are you okay? I'm fine, Mom, I said calmly. When someone dies, it's like a lamp going out. I just hope he'll make better choices in his next life. After I hung up, My roommates were all looking at me. What's wrong? What happened? Zhao Xinran asked with concern. Acquaintance passed away. Sorry, Li Jiayin said softly. I shook my head. It's okay. We weren't in touch anymore anyway. That said, I still couldn't sleep that night, not because I was upset, but because of a complicated feeling I couldn't quite put into words. When Jin Yan was dead, the man who had entangled himself with me for 10 years in my previous life, and in the end even called me a nanny and said I was using a life-saving favor to blackmail him, had just died like that. Should I be happy or should I be sad? In truth, I didn't want to feel anything. His life or death had never had anything to do with me. As someone I once knew, hearing of his death only stirred a few emotions. The next day, I went to class as usual, attended club activities, and discussed academic issues with my classmates. When Jin Yan's death did not disrupt the rhythm of my life, I suppose that's what it feels like to truly let go. A week later, I received a call from teacher Wang. Xinyue, when Jin Yan's funeral will be held next week, will you come back for it? No, I have classes to attend. Xinyue. Teacher Wang seemed about to say something, but in the end let it go. All right, I understand. I did have classes to attend, but even if I didn't, I still wouldn't go back for when Jin Yan's funeral. The dead are gone, the living must go on. I have my own life to live. A few more days passed, and then Su Wanwan suddenly sent me a message on WeChat. Her profile picture was still that carefully polished selfie, looking all bright and glamorous. Xinyue, I heard when Jin Yan passed away. Are you okay? I looked at the message and let out a cold laugh. So now this woman suddenly remembers to care. When she abandoned when Jin Yan back then, why didn't she think this day would come? I didn't reply to her message and deleted her right away. These people all want to play the saint, but none of them are willing to take responsibility. They all want me to be the fool who sacrifices himself to save everyone else. Thankfully, I was no longer the same Lin Xinyue I had been in my previous life. From now on, I would live only for my own dreams. Chapter 10. Time flew by, and before long, the second semester of my freshman year had arrived. I ranked first in my major and also received the national scholarship. More importantly, the model aircraft competition I took part in won first prize nationwide. Lin Xinyue, my advisor, said when he found me, there's a great opportunity I'd like to recommend to you. What opportunity? An internship program at the Aerospace Science and Technology Group, designed specifically for outstanding undergraduates. My advisor's eyes were full of approval. With your performance, you stand a very good chance of being selected. My heart raced with excitement. Really, absolutely. This internship is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that many students dream of. I immediately submitted my application materials. A week later, I received an interview invitation. On the day of the interview, I put on a suit and walked into the interview room full of energy. The interviewers were several seasoned aerospace experts, and they asked me many specialized questions. Lin, why did you choose aerospace engineering? Because it has been my dream since I was a child, I replied seriously. I hope to contribute my part to our country's aerospace endeavors. What do you think is your biggest strength? I learn quickly, and I'm strong in hands-on practice as well. I also have a deep interest in aerospace technology and a lasting passion for it. The interview went very smoothly, and the experts were all very pleased with my answers. 3 days later, I received my acceptance letter. I made it. Xinyue, that's amazing. My roommates were all happy for me. You're the pride of our dorm. I called my parents at once to share the good news. Mom, Dad, I was accepted into the internship program at the Aerospace Science and Technology Group. Really? Lin Jiangwo's voice trembled. Xinyue, you're incredible. Lin Shia was crying on the phone. My daughter is truly outstanding. Mom is so proud of you. That night, I stood on the dorm balcony, looking up at the sky full of stars. The Lin Xinyue who once gave up her dreams for a man was gone for good. Now, I am moving step by step toward my own goals. I remembered what when Jin Yan said before he died in my previous life. You're just a nanny, she's a dancer. But now, I want to tell him, when Jin Yan, you were wrong. I'm not a nanny, I'm an aerospace engineer. I have my own worth, my own dreams, and my own life, and you have already become the past. A little over a month later, I officially began my internship at the Aerospace Science and Technology Group. On my first day walking into the office building, I was thrilled beyond words. This is the heart of China's aerospace technology, where countless aerospace professionals come to make their dreams come true, and I had finally become one of them. Classmate Lin Xinyue, welcome to our team. The project lead greeted me warmly. Thank you. I'll work hard and live up to everyone's expectations. The internship was fulfilling, and every day I learned new knowledge and skills. I took part in the development work on several important projects. Although I only handled some basic tasks, I felt it was incredibly meaningful. The 3-month internship ended quickly, but I received extremely high praise. Lin Xinyue is one of the best interns I have ever seen, the project lead wrote on my evaluation form. She has a solid academic foundation, a strong passion for learning, and excellent hands-on skills. We look forward to her officially joining our team after graduation. Reading that evaluation almost moved me to tears. This is the life I want. This is the dream I've been working toward. After returning to school, I studied even harder. From sophomore year to junior year and senior year, my grades consistently ranked first in my major. I also published several academic papers and received various scholarships and honors. At last, graduation arrived in my senior year. I was admitted to Tsinghua University for graduate school without a hitch, and my major was aerospace engineering. On the day of the commencement ceremony, my parents made a special trip from Jiangnan City to attend. Watching me on stage, full of confidence and vitality, their eyes brimmed with pride and relief. "Xinyue, you did it," Lin Jiangwo said excitedly. "You really did it." Lin Xia wiped away her tears. "My daughter has really become an aerospace engineer." "Yes, I did it. I never gave up my dreams for anyone. I never became anyone's caretaker. I am myself, Lin Xinyue, a girl who has worked hard and fought for her dreams." If Wen Jinyan, who once humiliated me by my sickbed, could know this in the afterlife, I wonder what he would think. But none of that mattered anymore. What mattered was that I had finally become the person I wanted to be. Chapter 11. Graduate study was deeper and more specialized. I chose to focus on satellite technology, and my advisor was Professor Chen, one of the country's leading satellite experts. "Lin Xinyue, your undergraduate grades were excellent," Professor Chen said when we first met. "I have very high expectations for you." "Thank you, Professor Chen, I'll do my best." Graduate coursework was intense, but I never felt tired at all. Immersed in the world of satellite technology every day, I felt a sense of fulfillment and happiness like never before. At the same time, I continued to stay in touch with the Aerospace Science and Technology Group and often took part in some of their research projects. "Xiaolin, your research report is excellent," Engineer Zhang from the group praised. "Clear in thought and rich in data." "Thank you, Engineer Zhang. I still have a lot to learn." "You're too modest. Outstanding young people like you are exactly what our aerospace career needs." Hearing that, I felt warm inside. That's what it feels like to be recognized, not because of what I sacrificed, not because I took care of someone else, but because of my own abilities and hard work. In my second year of graduate school, I took part in an important satellite development project. It was a satellite for deep space exploration, and the technical challenges were substantial. I was responsible for designing the satellite communication system. "Link Sinew, how is that design plan coming along?" the project team leader asked me. "It's basically done, but there are still a few technical challenges to overcome." "What exactly is the issue?" I explained the technical difficulties I'd run into in detail, and the rest of the team listened attentively. "That really is a tough one." An experienced engineer nodded. "But your approach is right. Keep digging into it." I worked day and night, combed through a huge amount of literature, and carried out countless simulation experiments. At last, late one night, I found the solution. It worked. I shouted excitedly at the computer screen. My roommates in the dorm were all awakened by my noise, but seeing how excited I was, they got happy too. "Senior Xinyue, solved another technical problem?" a younger student asked with a smile. "Yeah, this time it was really tough." The next day, I submitted the proposal to the project team. After a careful review, the experts unanimously agreed that the proposal was outstanding. "Lin Xinyue, your proposal solved a major problem for us," the project leader said happily. "This means a great deal to the progress of the entire project." At that moment, I felt an unprecedented sense of accomplishment. That's what it feels like to realize your own value. It's not about relying on anyone else, but about creating value through your own abilities. In my third year of graduate school, I began writing my thesis. My research topic was Key Technologies for Next-Generation Deep Space Exploration Satellite Communication Systems. This topic was extremely challenging, but I was confident I could do it well. After a year of in-depth research, I finally completed the thesis. On the day of my defense, the experts on the committee gave my research work very high praise. "Ms. Lin Xinyue's research has important theoretical significance and practical value," said the chairman of the defense committee. "Her thesis is of excellent quality." I passed my defense smoothly and earned my master's degree. More importantly, my research results were adopted by the China Aerospace Science and Technology Corporation and will be used on the deep space exploration satellite scheduled for launch soon. At the graduation ceremony, Professor Chen patted me on the shoulder and said, "Xinyue, you are one of my best students. I believe you will achieve even greater things in the aerospace field." "Thank you, Professor Chen." For your guidance, you've already received an official job offer from China Aerospace Science and Technology Corporation, haven't you? Yes, I'll be working in the Satellite Technology Department at headquarters. That's great. It's the best place for you to make the most of your talents. When I left the school, I looked back at the beautiful campus. This is where my dream took flight, and it was also a major turning point. In my life, I'm grateful to everyone who helped me over the years, and to myself for my perseverance and hard work. Now, I'm about to embark on a new chapter in my life. I want to become a true aerospace engineer and contribute my part to my country's space program. This is the life I want, and this is the dream I'm fighting for, and those who once tried to kidnap me and use me for their own gain are now behind me. I am Lin Xingyue. I live for myself, and I fight for my dreams. The end. That's all for the first story. Don't go away. The next one is even more exciting. In 1979, at 18, with both parents gone, I headed north alone to join my fiancé, Gu Xinan, in the compound. Gu Xinan, dressed in military uniform, looked at me, plainly dressed and country-looking. Turning to his first love, he said, "This is the little maid my parents hired from our hometown. In my previous life, I took out our engagement token and exposed Gu Xinan's lie on the spot." His first love left in humiliation and anger, only to turn around and marry Gu Xinan's sworn enemy, who then tortured her to death. Gu Xinan married me and tormented me for the rest of my life. I was pregnant 7 times and miscarried 7 times until the doctor declared that I had permanently lost my ability to bear children. Only then did Gu Xinan grab my throat and say with a cold laugh that I had killed his first love and was unworthy of bearing his children. After learning the truth, I stabbed Gu Xinan in the body with a scalpel in despair and jumped from the 18th floor. When I opened my eyes again, I heard Gu Xinan telling his first love, "This is the little maid my parents hired from our hometown." I swallowed the bitterness in my heart and nodded in acknowledgement. Yes, I'm the maid hired by the Gu family. Gu Xinan, from this life on, we're done for good. I found out that Gu Xinan thought I was the little maid his family hired. Commander Gu slapped his son hard across the face. "Nonsense. Go out there and clear this up right now. Su Yi is your fiancé, the one you were betrothed to. How can you say she's the little maid our family hired? If you keep this up, how am I supposed to face Su Yi's parents?" Back then, Commander Gu and his wife were sent down to a farm for re-education and nearly starved to death. It was my parents who secretly brought them food for 3 years, and that's what kept them alive. After they were politically rehabilitated, Commander Gu ignored my parents' refusals and insisted on arranging a betrothal between me and Gu Xinan. After Commander Gu and Aunt Yuan moved back to the city, our two families gradually lost touch. In my past life, I was determined to fulfill my parents' dying wish and marry Gu Xinan, but Gu Xinan didn't love me. To avoid me, he even took the initiative to request a transfer to the far southwest, and in 10 years he only came home 3 times, never able to see her son. Aunt Yuan resented me for driving away her only child. The look in Commander Gu's eyes also gradually turned to disappointment. I shamelessly went to the army to apply to follow him there. To avoid me, Gu Xinan once again took the initiative to request a posting to the front lines, where he came close to losing his life more than once and nearly didn't make it back alive. For her son's sake, Aunt Yuan begged Commander Gu in tears, and he forcibly brought me back to the compound from Gu Xinan's side. In that cold, impersonal compound, I endured endless mockery and cold stares, wasting half my life with not a single happy day. When I opened my eyes again, I saw Gu Xinan carefully holding his white moonlight. Terrified that she might suffer even the slightest grievance, I suddenly understood that a forced marriage is doomed to end in misery. Gu Xinan, in this life, I'm letting you go, and I'm letting myself go too. In this life, I had just arrived at the family housing compound. Aunt Yuan didn't hate me yet, and Commander Gu was very fond of me too. Only Gu Xinan, just like in my previous life, was vehemently opposed to this marriage. Bai Lan and I are deeply in love, and I will absolutely not accept an arranged marriage. You owe Su Ye's parents a debt of gratitude, so why should I have to sacrifice my happiness to pay it back for you? Commander Gu was so furious he wanted to take off his belt and whip him. I stood in front of Gu Xinan and stopped the belt from coming down. Uncle Gu, I came this time just to find a job as a maid so I can earn money to support myself. I've never met Brother Gu, and I never plan to marry him. Let's call off the engagement between our two families. As I spoke, I took out the engagement token Aunt Yuan had given me, a crystal-carved goose, and handed it to Gu Xinan. Brother Gu, I've heard that geese are birds of fidelity. Take this crystal goose back and give it to the girl you truly love. Gu Xinan hadn't expected me to take the initiative and ask to break off the engagement. He felt a little relieved, but also somewhat annoyed. He looked at me critically. Do you really not want to marry me? Do you really just want to be my family's maid? I nodded and, with the hatred from my past life burning in my chest, looked him straight in the eye and said, Gusinan, I really don't like you, and I don't want to marry you. Gusinan's expression changed instantly. He clenched the crystal goose so tightly that his anger turned into a cold, bitter smile. Fine. You'd better remember what you said today, and don't get any ideas about me. I stayed at the Gu residence as a little country maid. Commander Gu and Aunt Yuan felt deeply guilty and offered to arrange a respectable job for me. I shook my head and refused. I'm just a village girl from the countryside. Besides washing clothes and cooking, I can't do anything. Right now, I didn't have a single penny on me. Even the fare to come find Gusinan had been scraped together by the villagers back home, 1 coin at a time. I had to earn some money first and pay everyone back for the bus fare they'd lent me. Seeing how determined I was to become a nanny, Commander Gu and Aunt Yuan had no choice but to agree. When I stepped into the Gu family's kitchen again, my body seemed to move on muscle memory. The sweet and sour pork ribs, along with the winter melon meatball soup I made, took both Commander Gu and Aunt Yuan by surprise. Suyi, I never expected you to be such a good cook. I gave a silent, bitter smile. Of course I was good. I had spent 40 years in this house serving your family in my previous life. I knew better than the nanny what everyone in the family liked to eat. Commander Gu loved sweet and sour pork ribs, so I swallowed my pride and camped out by the back door of the state-run restaurant for a whole month. Only then did I finally get the chef to agree to teach me this signature dish. Aunt Yuan loved winter melon meatball soup, and I blistered both hands making it. At last, I made a meatball soup with a clear broth and tender meat. Gusinan picked out a few strands of the shredded dried tofu he liked, and let out a cold laugh. Cut the little scheme of yours. You think learning to cook a few dishes mom and dad like is enough to make you the Gu family daughter-in-law? General Gu slammed the table hard. If you like it, eat. If not, get out. Gusinan flung his chopsticks onto the table, grabbed his coat, and walked out. Father and son parted on bad terms once again. I held back my tears and wished I could bury my face in my bowl. I hated being reborn at the age when I was the most powerless. I had no one to rely on. I was homeless. Even the introduction letter the production brigade had issued me had already expired. If I didn't have the nerve to stick around at the Gu family's place, I'd probably end up as a drifter and be sent back to my hometown. Wouldn't I? Let's wait a little longer. Once I save enough money, I can leave the Gu family, or find another household to work as a maid. That way, I can get my temporary residence permit sorted out. I want to put down roots in this city. I want to go to school. In this life, I still want to be someone useful to society. By deliberately avoiding him, even though Gusinan and I lived under the same roof, we went a long time without seeing each other again. When he was at work, I cleaned the house, did the laundry, and cooked. By the time he got home from work, I had already finished dinner in the kitchen and was tucked away in the nanny's room reading. Before long, I received my first month's wages. Aunt Yuan gave me 20 yuan. I took out 15 yuan and sent it back to my hometown, asking the brigade leader to help me return it to the fellow villagers. With the remaining 5 yuan, I decided to go to the supply and marketing cooperative to buy some pencils, an eraser, and a notebook. Unexpectedly, I ran into Gusinan and his first love, Jiang Bailan. Here, seeing me following behind them, Gusinan looked furious and shouted at me, Suyi, could you at least have some shame? I've already said it, I will never accept an arranged marriage from the older generation. Even if you chased me to the ends of the earth, I would never marry a country bumpkin like you. A burst of laughter broke out around them. My face burned, and I couldn't help but explain, I'm not following you. I'm here to buy pencils. Jiang Bailan tugged at Gusinan's sleeve. Sinan, we've all misunderstood Sister Suyi. Maybe she really is here to buy pencils. Gusinan let out a cold laugh. What could a complete illiterate who didn't even finish elementary school possibly do with pencils? Bailan, you're too naive. You don't know that some women will do anything just to stay in the city. I looked up and fixed my gaze on Gusinan, gathering my courage to argue back. If I really wanted to stay in the city, I wouldn't have broken off our engagement. The crowd erupted in an uproar the moment they heard me. What? This girl is Captain Gu's fiancé. Then who's the girl beside him? The one holding hands with Captain Gu. Can't you tell? She's his mistress. Jiang Bailan's face went pale. She forcefully broke free from Gusinan's hand and ran off in tears. Gusinan's face turned livid. He glared at me like he wanted to rip me apart. Suyi, if anything happens to Bailan, I'll make you pay with your life. With that, he shoved his way through the crowd and ran after Jiang Bailan. I cast a cold glance at his resolute retreating figure. I turned and walked into the supply and marketing cooperative, and bought the paper, pen, and ink I needed. When I got home, I took out my fountain pen and ink, ready to practice calligraphy. Suddenly, the door to the nanny's room was kicked open from the outside. Gusinan stormed in with a grim face, grabbed the ink bottle from the table, and smashed it hard onto the floor. The flying shards of glass left several bloody cuts on my calf, and the pain brought tears to my eyes. Seeing that I was hurt, Gusinan paused, as if he had thought of something, then sneered again. First, you stirred up trouble and spread rumors outside, ruining Bai Lan's reputation, and then you put on a pitiful act in front of me. Su Yi, I really underestimated your tricks, you little maid. I bit back the pain and defended myself. I didn't spread any rumors, and I never wanted to ruin Miss John's reputation. Gusinan didn't listen to my explanation at all. With a cold face, he grabbed my arm and dragged me. Everyone outside is saying that Bai Lan is the third party who broke up our engagement. Bai Lan is practically being driven to death by all these rumors. Go out there right now and make it clear to everyone. We were in an arranged marriage, and our engagement was already broken off long ago. I was dragged to the art troupe by Gusinan, my legs covered in blood. Jiang Bailan had already cried her eyes red. When she saw Gusinan arrive, she let out a sob and threw herself into his arms. Gusinan instinctively shoved me away, and I stumbled backward, falling into a cold embrace. Liang Jikai stared dazedly at the man holding me. In my previous life, it was because I insisted on marrying Gusinan. In revenge, Jiang Bailan married Gusinan's sworn enemy. The man in front of her was Liang Jikai. The Gu family and the Liang family were equally well matched in background and status. Gusinan and Liang Jikai had never gotten along since childhood. Later, it was said that after Liang Jikai married Jiang Bailan, he continued to torment and abuse her. Unable to bear the humiliation, Jiang Bailan threw herself into the river and drowned. I had no intention of getting involved in the love and hate entanglements of the children from these official compounds. I stood up, walked into the middle of the crowd, looked at Gusinan's threatening gaze, and said loudly, Gusinan and I did once have a marriage engagement, but it has already been called off. Gusinan and Jiang Bailan were in a normal romantic relationship. There was no cheating involved. I'm not Gusinan's fiancé either. I'm just their family's maid. After saying that, I pushed through the crowd and hurried off toward the clinic. Gusinan's expression eased slightly. He glanced at my calf, still bleeding, and an unmistakable trace of guilt crept into his eyes. Su Yi, wait, I'll drive you to the clinic. Jiang Bailan suddenly cried out and fainted into Gusinan's arms. After a moment's hesitation, Gusinan scooped Jiang Bailan up in his arms. Turning to me, he said, wait here for me. I'll take Bailan back to the dorm first, then come get you and take you to the clinic. With that, he hurried off, carrying Jiang Bailan. I stared blankly at his retreating figure for a while. I couldn't help feeling envious of Jiang Bailan. Such unwavering favoritism was something I had never had in either of my 2 lifetimes. I didn't wait there. Dragging my legs, already numb with pain, I turned and made my way to the clinic. Suddenly, a pair of strong arms wrapped around my waist. I cried out in surprise as I was lifted clear off the ground. Liang Jikai's teasing voice came from beside my ear. You're almost bleeding dry, and you're still gritting your teeth and forcing yourself to hang on, with that rotten, stubborn temper. No wonder you can't beat Jiang Bailan, that little white flower. Come on, get in my car, I'll take you to the clinic. Just like that, Liang Jikai carried me in his arms from the art troupe to the clinic and then from the clinic to the housing compound. Seeing my legs covered in scars, Commander Gu flew into a rage. Aunt Yuan also wore a sullen look and showed her displeasure toward Jiang Bailan. Gusinan couldn't find me at the arts troupe entrance, so he hurried home. As soon as he walked in, Commander Gu kicked him hard in the body. So he has already agreed to call off the engagement. Why are you still bullying her? Apologize. Perhaps feeling in the wrong, Gusinan walked up to me and quietly said sorry. Then, frowning, he asked me why I hadn't waited for him at the entrance. I looked up and replied coldly with 3 words, it hurts too much. A trace of guilt flashed across Gusinan's handsome face, and then he went on berating me endlessly. This is partly your fault too. If, back at the supply and marketing cooperative, you had explained things clearly sooner, Bailan wouldn't have suffered such a big grievance. In that case, tomorrow I'll bring Bailan back for dinner, make a few of your specialty dishes, then apologize to Bailan in person. That way, this matter will be over. I let out a bitter smile and pointed at my legs wrapped in bandages. Sorry, the doctor said my leg injuries are too severe, and I need to stay in bed for a few days. I'm afraid I won't be able to cook for you tomorrow. Gusinan looked embarrassed and said awkwardly, then let's do it in a few days. Once your leg is better, I'll bring Bailan back for dinner. In a few days won't work either. I cut him off before he could keep talking. Gusinan's expression darkened. Su Yi, I already said it, ending the engagement between you and me has nothing to do with Bailan. Can't you? Don't keep picking on her. Okay. I looked up and stared blankly at the man. So, whether in my past life or this one, that's how Gusinan sees me, a pathetic person, small-minded, calculating, always using the engagement to bully the woman he loves, his precious first love. I gave a bitter smile and said to him, trying to sound casual, I'm not targeting her. I just wanted to say that in a few days, I won't be here anymore. I probably won't have the chance to cook for you again. Gu Xinan froze for a moment, then suddenly said anxiously, not here anymore. Where are you going? Your parents are both gone. Even if you go back to your hometown, go back and what, alone and without anyone to rely on, just waiting for greedy relatives back home to take everything after you. I shook my head and said word by word, I'm not going back home. I've thought it over. Since we've already called off the engagement, it wouldn't be right for me to keep living at your house. I found a family to work for. Once the injury on my leg heals, I'll go there to work as a nanny. After that, I probably won't be coming to your house again. Perhaps my tone was too resolute. Even a hint of hurt appeared on Gu Xinan's face. He awkwardly tried to persuade me. If you don't want to apologize, forget it. At worst, I just won't bring Bailan back for dinner. You don't know this place at all. What if someone bullies you when you go out to work as a nanny? Just stay at home. If you're worried people might misunderstand, I can transfer to the southwest with Bailan. My heart skipped a beat, and I instinctively turned to look at Aunt Yuan. Sure enough, hearing that his son was actually applying for a transfer to the far southwest just to avoid me, the smile on Aunt Yuan's face was almost impossible to keep up. A bitter feeling welled up in my heart. Gu Xinan, in this life, you don't have to go out of your way to avoid me anymore. I won't come between you and your love, or your happy family, ever again. Just then, Liang Jikai suddenly walked in. Su Yi, the room is ready for you. I'll carry you over there now. Gu Xinan looked at him in surprise, then at me, his face turning red and white. After a moment, he suddenly let out a cold laugh. So that's why you suddenly wanted to leave. Turns out you've found yourself a better deal. Su Yi, I really underestimated you. To stay in the city, you'd even get involved with someone like Liang Jikai. I froze for a moment. Once I understood what he meant, my face flushed crimson in an instant. Liang Jikai understood too and rushed forward to hit him. I grabbed the hem of his clothes from behind, holding on tightly. Mr. Liang, let it go. I didn't want to stay at the Gu family any longer. Liang Jikai shot Gu Snan a vicious look. He scooped me up from the bed in his arms. Suddenly, my arm was grabbed by Gu Xinan. Let her go. Gu Xinan glared at us angrily, as if he'd been cheated on. Liang Jikai sneered. Why should I? Gu Xinan said angrily. Because we were engaged. Liang Jikai let out a mocking laugh. You said it yourself, it was only an engagement. Wasn't it already called off? Gu Xinan said in frustration. Even if the engagement is off, Su Ye's parents have done my family a favor, and I have a responsibility toward her. Liang Jikai said sarcastically. What responsibility? Since when does an employer owe responsibility to the household maid? Gu Xinan was instantly at a loss for words. I let out a sigh and decided to say a proper goodbye to Gu Xinan once and for all. Gu Xinan, Mr. Liang was right. We've already called off the engagement. I'm just the country maid your family hired. I owe you nothing. I won't be coming to your house anymore, and you don't need to go all the way to the southwest just to avoid me. Gu Xinan, let's leave it at that. Goodbye. No, not goodbye. Never see you again. I worked as a maid at Liang Jikai's house. The Liang family was small. Liang Jikai's father was stationed with the Southern Province Military District, and his mother went with him to look after him at home. There were only Liang Jikai and his grandparents, Grandpa Liang and Grandma Liang were both easy to get along with, and before long, I had adjusted to life as a maid in the Liang household. In the mornings, I would go with Grandma Liang to the side goods store to buy meat and vegetables. I spent the afternoon taking Grandpa Liang out fishing. After dinner that evening, I hid in my room by myself to read and practice calligraphy. Liang Jiekai happened to see me practicing my copybook and let out a sneer. The next day, he brought back a whole big box of calligraphy copybooks by famous masters. I thanked him again and again. You couldn't even buy these master copybooks at the supply and marketing cooperative. Liang Jiekai's ears turned red, and he waved it off with forced calm. Don't mention it. They were just scraps the unit didn't want anyway. They were going to be sold as waste paper. I pressed my lips together and smiled. The next evening, there was a new dish of plum rib stew and a plate of sweet and sour pork with crispy crust on the dinner table. Grandma Liang teased with a smile. Oh, so tonight everything is Juankai's favorite. I blushed and buried my face in my rice bowl. Liang Jiekai stole a glance at me, the tips of his ears slightly warm. After dinner, I gathered my courage and called out to Liang Jiekai, who was about to go upstairs. Mr. Liang, I want to sign up for night school. I just don't know where to register, or whether they'd even take someone like me, a country girl. I blushed red with embarrassment, a little maid from the countryside, yet I had the audacity to want to go to night school and even take the college entrance exam. Would Liang Jiekai laugh at me? After all, in my last life, I had also told Gu Sinan that I wanted to keep studying and take the college entrance exam. Back then, I naively thought that as long as I got into college and became a college student I would be worthy of Gu Sinan, who had already become a regiment commander. Back then, Gu Sinan merely shot me a disdainful glance and said coldly, "You're already in your 20s. Don't tell me you still want to go back to middle school. You're married now, so just stay home and behave yourself. Take good care of your parents. That's your duty." Having been given a second life, I no longer expected some fleeting, illusory love. I wanted to give it a try and see whether I could get into college, see whether I could rise to a height even Gu Sinan would have to look up to. Liang Jikai agreed to help me ask around. Unexpectedly, the very next day, he drove me to the night school to enroll. I held back my excitement, paid the registration fee, and received a stack of books. On the way back, I walked with a spring in my step, unable to stop humming a folk song from my hometown. Liang Jikai gave a soft chuckle, his peach blossom eyes looking at me gently. "It's just night school, and you're this happy." I nodded hard. "Happy, Mr. Liang. Thank you so much." Only when I signed up did I learn that the night school really was for locals, and you had to have a local household registration to enroll. For me to get in, Liang Jikai must have pulled a lot of strings. Liang Jikai smiled. "If you really want to thank me, call me bro." Blushing, I called out softly, like an ant, "Brother Liang." Liang Jikai laughed in delight. Suddenly, Gu Sinan's trembling voice came from behind. "Suyi, what did you call him?" Hearing Gu Sinan's accusatory tone, Liang Jikai's expression darkened. Seemingly thinking of something, he suddenly lifted his arm, put it around my shoulder, and said affectionately, "I get along well with little Yi here. What's wrong with her calling me brother?" Gu Sinan didn't even look at him. He kept staring at me and asked through clenched anger, "Suyi, our families have known each other for so many years, and you're calling him brother? You've never even called me brother." I interrupted Gu Sinan impatiently. "Captain Gu, I'm grateful to Commander Gu and Aunt Yuan for taking me in back then and giving me a job, but you were the one who said it yourself back then, that I was just a little major family hired from the countryside. I mean, a nanny probably isn't in any position to call the master of the house brother, right?" Gu Sinan seemed to suddenly remember the scene when we first met. His face turned as white as a sheet. After a moment of stunned silence, he forced a bitter smile and explained, "Suyi, that's not what I meant." I cut off his feeble explanation once again. "Whether it is or not doesn't matter anymore. Captain Gu, you don't want us to keep in contact and give Miss Jiang the wrong idea, do you? I think there's no need for us to keep in touch anymore. From now on, if we meet again, let's just treat each other like strangers." Maybe the words "it doesn't matter" had hurt Gu Sinan's pride. After that day, I didn't see him again for a long time. I only heard by chance that, just like in my previous life, he had filed a report and applied to be sent to the southwest front. Jiang Bailan went there with the troop as well. In this life, with me no longer standing between them, Gu Sinan and Jiang Bailan should be able to make things official very soon, right? This time around, I too had found my own goal and direction. My grades at night school improved rapidly, and 6 months later, the teacher personally wrote me a recommendation letter. With that recommendation letter in hand, I skipped a grade and moved up to sophomore year of high school. Aunt Liang took pity on me, with no parents and nowhere else to go, and insisted that I keep living in her home. She even wanted to pay me a maid's salary. I turned down the salary and just helped Aunt Liang with housework in the evenings and on weekends, taking care of the little vegetable garden to make up for the rent. Hearing that I was going to take the college entrance exam, Liang Jikai brought me another huge box of study materials and mimeographed exam papers. Looking at the brand new reference books and the exam papers still smelling of ink, I asked him on purpose, "These too, old paper from your workplace?" Liang Jikai rubbed the tuft of hair standing up on the top of my head hard. "Study hard. If you get in, I'll personally take you to college." During that time, Commander Gu and Aunt Yuan also sent over a thick envelope. Inside were 1,000 yuan, along with some grain coupons and meat coupons. I returned it all intact. In my last life, it was my own overconfidence that kept them and their only son separated by 1,000 miles, unable to reunite for 10 whole years. This time around, I don't want to have even the slightest connection with the Gu family. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, the day of the college entrance exam had arrived. What I hadn't expected was that Gu Sinan would travel all the way back and even take leave just to see me off to the exam. But even so, he still couldn't beat Liang Jikai. He watched as I slung my backpack over my shoulder and got into Liang Jikai's jeep. In Gu Sinan's eyes, there seemed to be regret and sorrow that I couldn't quite understand. "Sui, go for it," I nodded, not knowing what to say, and could only mumble awkwardly, "Thank you." Liang Jikai deliberately tried to provoke him, saying loudly, "Xiaoya, Thank goodness you broke off your engagement with this guy back then, otherwise, you'd still be working as a free maid in his family's home now. How would you ever have gotten the chance to take the college entrance exam? You really should thank Battalion Commander Gu for not marrying you. Gu Xinan's face went pale. He opened his mouth, as if he wanted to say something, but in the end, not a single word came out. He could only watch helplessly as his former fiancé got into the passenger seat of his sworn enemy's car. After the jeep had driven on for a while, I suddenly heard an argument breaking out behind us. Through the rearview mirror, I saw Jiang Bailan, once so elegant and poised, acting like a madwoman. She was grabbing at Gu Xinan's clothes, clawing and scratching at him, crying and cursing. All the while, but that was Gu Xinan and Jiang Bailan's story, and it had nothing to do with me anymore. I finished my final exam with complete focus. Liang Jikai came to take me home with a bright bouquet of sunflowers on the way there. I only then learned from him that in the previous battle, Gu Xinan had originally been up for a promotion. Unexpectedly, Jiang Bailan showed up on the battlefield to rescue Jiang Bailan. 5 soldiers from Gu Xinan's battalion were killed at that time. Although Gu Xinan was not demoted, he received a major disciplinary penalty and was officially reprimanded across the entire army for the next 5 years. Unless he risked his life fighting for it, he would have no more chances for promotion. I asked in surprise, why was Jiang Bailan so determined to go to the front lines to find him? Liang Jikai let out a sneer. I heard that in the suicide note Gu Xinan left behind, they found a letter he had written to another woman, and she kicked up a fuss, insisting on going to Gu Xinan to get to the bottom of it. I never expected it would end up costing 5 soldiers their lives. What a troublemaker. I said nothing. This was the life Gu Xinan had chosen for himself. I can only respect that and wish him well. Half a month later, my university acceptance letter finally arrived at the military housing compound. When they heard I had been accepted into Capital Medical University, Grandpa Liang and Grandma Liang happily asked the guard to buy some wedding candies. Then they took me around to deliver wedding candies to every household in the compound. When we got to the Gu family's place, I keenly sensed that Aunt Yuan and Commander Gu's smiles were a little forced. After hearing that I had been accepted into Capital Medical University, Commander Gu gave me an imported fountain pen. Aunt Yuan gave me a red envelope. As I came out of the Gu household, I ran straight into Gu Xinan and Jiang Bailan. The moment Jiang Bailan saw me, her expression twisted at once. Suyi, you've already broken off your engagement to Brother Gu. So why are you still shamelessly hanging around? Don't think just because you got into college that you're good enough for Brother Gu. I'll be honest with you, I'm already carrying Brother Gu's child. Gu Xinan's expression changed, and he harshly shook off Jiang Bailan's hand. He looked at me nervously and said, Suyi, it's not like she said. What happened between us was just an accident. Jiang Bailan let out a shriek and rushed up to slap Gu Xinan across the face. Gu Xinan, are you even a man? I'm carrying your child. What do you mean by this now? So now that your dear little Yi girl has become a college student, you regret breaking off the engagement with her. You want to dump me and go back to being with your little Yi girl. I'm telling you, dream on. If you dare dump me and the baby, I'll report you to the army. Gu Xinan grew impatient with her endless fussing and couldn't help but reach out and shove her hard. Jiang Bailan, don't drag innocent people into this. You know perfectly well how the baby in your belly came to be. After being shoved hard by him, Jiang Bailan fell all the way down the stairs. When she saw blood spreading at the hem of her skirt, Jiang Bailan screamed at the top of her lungs, the baby, my baby. It was said that, in the end, the baby in Jiang Bailan's belly still couldn't be saved. She threatened to call the police and have Gu Xinan sent to prison. Aunt Yuan pleaded desperately, and Commander Gu had Gu Xinan tied up and beaten until he broke a leather belt. Gu Xinan was beaten so badly that not a patch of skin was left unscathed, yet he still gritted his teeth and flatly refused to agree to marry Jiang Bailan. In the end, it was only after Aunt Yuan knelt down to Gu Xinan that she forced him to agree to marry Jiang Bailan. I couldn't understand what on earth Gu Xinan was resisting. In my previous life, he was willing to risk his life on the battlefield, and even stayed away from home for 10 years all just to be with Jiang Bailan. In this life, I had given them my blessing, so why did he not want it anymore? Before long, the day university started arrived. Coincidentally, that day was also the day Gu Xinan and Jiang Bailan were supposed to get married. I didn't go. I just asked Grandma Liang to pass along a red envelope for me. Unexpectedly, 2 days later, I actually saw a scruffy, unshaven Gu Xinan downstairs by the dormitory building. He had actually run off and called off the wedding. The moment he saw me walking out of the dorm, Gu Xinan rushed over without a second thought. Suyi, you came back too, didn't you? My mind went blank with a loud buzz. Could it be that Gu Xinan had come back too? Seeing the disbelief in my eyes, Gu Xinan gave a bitter smile and nodded. Yes, I came back too. It's just that I came back too late. As if thinking of something, Hope flared in Gu Xinan's eyes again, and he said to me with obvious excitement, "It's not too late. Suyi, I came back on the day of the wedding. I haven't registered my marriage with Jiang Bailan yet. Come with me, let's go to the southwest together. In this life, let's start over." Okay, I took a step back and held up my left hand toward him. "Sorry, I'm already engaged. In this lifetime, I hadn't spent 30 years as a nanny for the Gu family. My hands, nurtured by years of reading and learning, were fair, slender, and well cared for. On the ring finger of my left hand, a delicate, dazzling diamond ring stung Gu Xinan's eyes. The diamond's cold gleam made Gu Xinan almost unable to keep his eyes open. His eyes burned and swelled with tears, and he instinctively took 2 steps back. Even his voice was full of panic. How could you suddenly get engaged? Aren't you here to go to college?" A jeep suddenly pulled up behind us. Liang Jikai came over to my side carrying 2 lunchboxes. Holding his hand, I said to Gu Xinan word by word, "Captain Gu, the school doesn't have a rule saying you can't get engaged in college. The day brother Liang brought me here to enroll. He proposed to me." I said yes. "After graduation, we'll get married." Gu Xinan jerked his head up and glared at Liang Jikai with rage blazing in his eyes before swinging a heavy punch at him. Liang Jikai dropped the lunchboxes in his hands and threw a punch back. The lunchboxes hit the ground, and the braised pork inside spilled everywhere. The school security guards rushed over and forcibly pulled the 2 of them apart. Looking at the braised pork trampled on the floor, Gu Xinan said with a sneer, "Liang Jikai, you don't understand Suyi at all. She likes vegetarian food and hates meat the most. You don't even know her. So what makes you think you can give her happiness?" Liang Jikai burst out laughing. "Gu Xinan, the one who truly doesn't understand Suyi is you. What Suyi likes most is braised pork." Gu Xinan shook his head desperately. "Impossible. At our house, she never eats meat." Liang Jikai looked at me with heartache and said coldly, "That's because she doesn't dare." She felt like she was living under someone else's roof, and just eating for free at your house was already enough to make her feel like a burden, so she was embarrassed to eat the meat you bought. "But it doesn't matter, Gu Xinan, you may not care about Suyi, but I do. If Suyi marries me, I can make sure she eats braised pork for the rest of her life." Gu Xinan felt as if he'd been struck by lightning. He stood there, stunned and speechless. After that day, Liang Jikai called Commander Gu. Commander Gu personally led a team and took Gu Xinan back. It wasn't until 3 years later that I heard news of Gu Xinan again. That year, I finally graduated from college and decided to come back with Liang Jikai to hold our wedding. The family housing compound still looked exactly as I remembered it, only Commander Gu and Aunt Yuan had already moved out of the compound. I heard that after Gu Xinan married Jiang Bailan couldn't stand his emotional neglect, and she and the dance troops caught red-handed in bed with someone. In a fit of rage, Gu Xinan accidentally beat Jiang Bailan into critical condition. To protect Gu Xinan, Commander Gu swallowed his pride and spent half a lifetime begging everyone he could, and also paid the Jiang family a hefty sum of money. In the end, Gu Xinan was sentenced to 3 years in prison. The day I married Liang Jikai was also the day Gu Xinan was released from prison. Seeing him appear before me, gaunt and skeletal, holding a bouquet of lilies, I could hardly believe it. This was the same battle hero from my past life, so full of spirit and commanding the battlefield with such authority. Seeing me standing beside Liang Jikai in a pure white wedding dress, beaming with happiness, Gu Xinan gave a bitter smile and handed the flowers in his hand to me. I instinctively took 2 steps back. Gu Xinan looked at me with hurt eyes. "Xiao Yezi, I'm not here to cause trouble. I just want to see what you look like in your wedding dress." Dazed, I remembered the time in my past life when Gu Xinan and I got married. Aunt Yuan had originally prepared a wedding dress for me, but because Jiang Bailan tearfully said she had always dreamed of wearing a wedding dress and standing beside Gu Xinan then gave that custom-made wedding dress to Jiang Bailan. Later, I showed up at the wedding venue in a white dress I had hurriedly borrowed. I was met with nothing but ridicule and humiliation. Luckily, in this life, I finally met the right person and wore a wedding dress that belonged only to me. Gu Xinan still insisted on giving me that bouquet of lilies, but Liang Jikai snatched it away and tossed it far off. Gu Xinan looked at him angrily. Liang Jikai let out a cold laugh and said, "Gu Xinan, you keep saying you like Suyi, but you don't even know that Suyi is allergic to lily pollen. The one who really likes lilies should be Jiang Bailan." "Right." Gu Xinan was visibly shocked. He looked at me with trembling lips, muttering, "I'm sorry, Suyi. I didn't know." "Yes, only someone who truly loves you will care about everything you do, knowing what you like and what you hate." But for Gu Xinan, what he felt for me was only unwillingness, nothing to do with love. After coming to terms with it, I gave a gentle smile and said, "It's okay, we're not that close to begin with. So it's only natural you wouldn't know I'm allergic to lily pollen. The banquet is about to begin. Go in and take a seat," I greeted Gusinan as naturally as I would any other guest. My unfamiliar, distant attitude stung Gusinan, turning his eyes red. His eyes trembled slightly as he clenched his fists, as if trapped in deep remorse and pain, but I had no time to care about his joy or sorrow. My wedding was about to begin. The moment I turned to leave, I seemed to hear a murmur from behind me. Suyi. Actually, back then, the salute cannon fired, and I couldn't make out the rest of Gusinan's unfinished words, but it didn't matter anymore in this life. He followed the path he wanted to take, and as for me, it was time to walk the road that was mine. Story 2. Everyone knows that I'm the most infatuated admirer of Jiang Qie. It was not until he got into a car accident while drag racing for his white moonlight that I rushed to the scene in a hurry. When I arrived, there was an unsightly scar on his eyebrow bone. He didn't look like himself at all. After a moment of silence, I broke up with him. He sneered at me with a mocking smile. Sun Yin, you're not worthy. The next second, I was blacklisted in the industry, and no one dared to hire me. He was forcing me to yield to him, but I was planning to go abroad, yet he begged me with red-rimmed eyes. I've already had the scar removed. It's okay if you treat me as a substitute. When I heard that Jiang Qie had an accident, I rushed to the hospital in a panic, forgetting to take off my apron. Along the way, people looked at me with various expressions. She's really pitiful, the nurses whispered. What happened? Look, her boyfriend got into an accident while drag racing for another woman. My hasty steps gradually slowed down. I blinked, turned my toes, and pushed open the door to the fire escape. In the smoky haze, I stared blankly at the red dot of a cigarette. Finally, I slowly pressed the cigarette butt against my apron to extinguish it. I stood up and walked towards the ward. My hand was on the doorknob, and there were sounds of chatting and laughing from inside. Brother Yi, what are you thinking? The man in the hospital gown didn't speak, his eyes downcast, spinning his phone in his hand. There was no call. I was in such a hurry that I even forgot to call him. What do you think Sun Yan's reaction will be this time? His brother was speculating. Brother Yi, this time it seems a bit overdone. Everyone outside is saying that you got into an accident because of Su Jing. After a pause, Zhao Ming added, will sister-in-law be sad? Sad? What for? My hand slowly moved to my left chest. It should hurt there, but it didn't seem to. Feeling sorry, why don't you ask her if she's willing to go with you? This time, no one spoke again. How long are you going to listen? I took a deep breath and pushed the door open. The others seemed a bit embarrassed and immediately lowered their heads, pretending to look at their phones. I placed the chicken soup on the table and felt his lazy gaze land on me. I met his pitch black eyes without flinching. The man's forehead was wrapped in a thick layer of gauze. He must have been seriously injured. No one spoke. I gently stroked his eyebrow bone, blinking slowly. This is black bone chicken soup. It's good for your health. Does it hurt a lot? The woman's voice was soft and gentle, with a hint of sobbing. The atmosphere in the ward became even more strange. This was simply, the boyfriend got into an accident while drag racing for another woman, and the legitimate girlfriend's concern was only whether her boyfriend's wound hurt. What was the difference between this and a boyfriend asking if his mistress was tired after an affair? I've been infatuated with Jiang Qie for 6 years, a full 6 years since my sophomore year in college until now. His family is wealthy, and he has a handsome face, so there have always been a lot of women around him. He neither accepted them nor pushed them away. Everyone said he was a playboy, but no one expected that I would stay by his side for 3 years and then another 3 years. Just when everyone thought I might be different, Jiang Qie's white moonlight returned from studying abroad. The little girl was harassed at the racetrack. The person was also a rich young master, saying that if he didn't want to harass her, there was only one condition. Someone had to beat him in a car race. Jiang Qie drove very fast, and then the car accident happened. His brother quickly explained to me, sister-in-law, the situation was urgent at that time. Brother Jiang had no choice. It's okay. The doctor came to take a look and instructed, there should be no major problems. He just needs to rest well. Will there be a scar? I eagerly stopped the doctor who was about to leave. The doctor patted my shoulder with a smile. Little girl, why would a man be afraid of a scar? I had a bad feeling in my heart. Then, the doctor said, it's already very lucky that there are no other sequelae. That means there will be a scar, right? I urgently wanted an answer. The doctor thought it was strange. Then he thought that I probably didn't want my boyfriend's handsome appearance to be damaged. It's okay. As long as he doesn't eat anything too stimulating, it should be fine. I let out a sigh of relief. Jiang Qie was lying on the bed, enjoying the sight of me worrying about him. The ward door was suddenly pushed open again in a hurry. A girl ran in anxiously. Jiang Qie frowned and scolded, running so fast. What if you fall? Ah. I was in a hurry. By the way, I made you sauce-flavored chicken wings. Su Jing moved my black bone chicken soup aside with a smile. Nian Nian, yours is too bland and has no taste. The girl's eyes rolled, and she smiled slyly. Chia doesn't like it. Why don't you give it to me? In fact, I knew that Jiang Chia liked strong, flavored food. It will leave a scar. I reminded him. The man raised his eyebrows. Oh. He deliberately took a big bite of the chicken wing in front of me, so I had to come earlier and earlier, hoping that he would notice my chicken soup, but without exception, it all ended up in Su Jing's stomach. Su Jing was back, so Jiang Chia probably didn't need me much now. After delivering the meal, I found another part-time job and filled my schedule. My new teaching student was Lin Yu. He was unexpectedly cooperative and had good comprehension. Teaching him was easy for me. The hostess insisted on keeping me for dinner. By the time I got back to the apartment, it was already past the 10 o'clock curfew. Jiang Chia and I had an agreement that if either of us came back late, we should send a message in advance, but he should be with Su Jing now. Surprisingly, Jiang Chia came back from the hospital today, and Su Jing was standing next to him. What, do you want to stay together? Seeing my surprise, Jiang Chia smiled maliciously at me. No, I'm leaving now. I didn't want to argue with him, so I turned around and left. Jiang Chia leaned against the wall, laughing in anger. Sun Yan, if you leave today, don't come back. Please calm down. I opened the door. The coffee table behind me was kicked over with a bang. Su Jing was startled. I didn't know what happened. Su Jing came to see me the next day. There were dark circles under her eyes. Maybe she hadn't been very restrained. Her meaning was clear. She hoped that I would leave Jiang Chia's side voluntarily. Nian Nian, have you ever heard a saying, the one who isn't loved is the mistress? Relying on her past relationship with Jiang Chia, she didn't even bother to hide her malice. She looked at me with a straightforward and mean expression. Raising her eyebrows, I lowered my eyes, casually stirring the coffee latte art, and said lightly, if he really loved you, would he let you bear the title of mistress? Don't you know what people outside are saying about you? Mistress, a gold-digging mistress who meddles in other people's relationships. Yes, although she and Jiang Chia had been seen together many times, Jiang Chia and I had never broken up, so she was still the mistress. Which one do you think sounds better? With each word I said, her face paled a bit. I shook my head, thinking that her skin was not even half as thick as mine. Sister Sun Yan, I know you resent me. If it weren't for me, I wouldn't have had an accident. Su Jing bit her lip, and her eyes suddenly turned red. I was confused. What on earth was she doing? Nian Nian, I'm begging you, don't drive me away. I really love I don't expect anything. I just want to stay by I's side. I have nothing left. Suddenly, she knelt down and cried loudly, woo woo woo, with a bang. It was unexpected. Before I could react, my hand hurt. My arm was suddenly grabbed. The sharp clip on the back of my head hit the wall, making my scalp tingle. I couldn't help but gasp. It was Jiang Chia. He picked up the girl, turned her around, and held her in his arms, saying in a tone of hating her for not being up to par, who told you to humble yourself like this? His tone carried an unconscious tenderness. Sun Yan apologized to Susu. The manager next to him, seeing that the situation was getting out of hand, immediately stepped forward to explain, Sir, we can provide the surveillance here. Su Jing's face changed, and she tugged at the man's sleeve. Forget it. Su Jing left with him. Jiang Chia and I got into a cold war. Some people were betting on when I would return to Jiang Chia's side. Some bet it would be at most a month. Others in the group laughed out loud. Can't you be more daring? I bet it will be at most a week. Ha 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 ha. Su Jing sent me these conversations and added, Nian Nian, they don't even consider you as Chia's girlfriend. She babbled on about various little things that happened when she was with Jiang Chia in the past. For example, Jiang Chia called her sister-in-law on the first day they were together. While some of his brothers still call me by my full name, it seemed like she was trying to contrast me with her. I was a bit distracted and didn't really read it carefully. There was a reason why those people guessed a week. Because the most extreme thing happened a month ago when Jiang Chia unilaterally cancelled my piano competition registration. Everyone knew how important that competition was. On what grounds did you cancel my competition registration? I stared at him angrily at that time. He knew how important that award was to me. It was held once every 7 years. To make it to the finals, I practiced until my fingers cramped every day. What right did he have? That was the first time I was truly angry. I directly slapped Jiang Chia. No one dared to step forward to stop us. Jiang Chia gritted his back teeth and smiled, feeling better. Since that day, we started a cold war. It was one-sided on my part because Jiang Chia didn't care until the news of his car accident came. It seemed like we made up again. Still not breaking up after all this. Are you a masochist, a teenager? leaned against the wall at the entrance of the coffee shop and taunted. I took a deep breath. Mind your own business. He walked in, hating me for being so spineless. Mind my own business. Sister Nyan, do you think if my eldest brother were here, he would want you to degrade yourself like this for him? I lowered my head and picked at my nails. He seemed to be really angry. Finally, he said helplessly, if you change your mind, call me. I won't change my mind. He waved his hand. We'll see. On the day Jiang Qie removed the gauze, I still went. He wasn't surprised at all, as if he had expected me to come. He sneered, didn't you leave? Why are you back? His tone was full of mocking certainty. He raised his eyes to look at me. At this moment, I was completely focused on the nurse's hands. The old nurse teased, it's normal for young couples to have fights. The more you quarrel, the deeper your feelings get. Then, seeing my nervous expression, she added, look how nervous your girlfriend is. He waited casually, with the corners of his lips slightly raised. The last layer, it was slowly unfolded. I almost pressed my eyes against it, and my heart was pounding. A light-colored scar ran across his left eyebrow. It made his face even more aggressive. In fact, it wasn't ugly. The old nurse pulled me in front of Jiang Qie and smiled. Look, he's still handsome, except for the light-colored scar. He was almost the same, but he wasn't like himself anymore, not at all. I reached out to touch it with a trembling hand. Pata, tears fell uncontrollably. I quickly wiped them away. The tears were wiped away, but the scar couldn't be removed. I asked again, can the scar be removed? By now, everyone felt a bit strange. Given the extent of the injury, people were puzzled and whispered, why does sister-in-law insist on removing the scar? Jiang Qie took my hand down, frowning, do you dislike me? No, I actually never disliked him, because I never loved him. Without this face, I finally felt a sense of relief. Suddenly, I didn't want to endure anymore, and my tone returned to normal. You have a good rest. I'll come to see you when I'm free. For several days in a row, I didn't call him and was busy with my part-time job. Sister-in-law, brother Yi is drunk. The voice on the other side was a bit noisy. For some reason, I felt impatient. Jiang Qie, let's break up. I knew he was listening. The sound on the other side suddenly stopped. No one spoke. After a long time, so long that I thought he had already hung up, he finally spoke, with a laugh, Sun Yan, don't play hard to get with me, you're not worthy. He hung up before I could say anything. Back at the apartment, I started packing my things to make room for Su Jing. In fact, there wasn't much to pack. I didn't have many things. In less than an hour, I was done, but unfortunately, Jiang Qie was leaning against the door. I didn't know how long he had been watching. Excuse me, let me pass. He didn't speak and moved his body aside just as I pushed the suitcase outside. The man suddenly closed the door. His eyes were gloomy. I was so scared that I took a step back. He pressed forward. What are you doing? He grabbed my resisting wrist, looked me up and down, and slowly curled his lips. Guess, the smile didn't reach his eyes. As he got closer, the smell of alcohol on his body entered my nose. A series of delicate kisses landed on me. His cold fingers slipped under the hem of my skirt. Finally, Lin Yu arrived in time and punched him. What, did you fall in love with my little brother during your part-time job? Lin Yu stiffened, and I held his hand. Jiang Qie was so angry that he laughed. Try leaving. A glass shattered at my feet. I pulled Lin Yu and left directly. Subsequently, the parent of the child I was tutoring one-on-one called me. I'm sorry, Teacher Su. You don't need to come tomorrow. I found another teacher. I knew it was Jiang Qie's doing. Okay, I didn't say much. After all, I couldn't make things difficult for them. Wait a moment, Teacher Su. The person on the other side didn't hang up the phone immediately. They said with embarrassment, I know this is very sorry. If you need it, I can lend you some money. My eyes started to feel sour. After all these years with Jiang Qie, I found that even a parent of a child I had only tutored for half a year was more considerate than him. I pretended to be relaxed and said, don't worry, I have savings. In fact, I didn't. I had paid for Jiang Qie's car accident. It's okay, I'll try some agencies again. For several consecutive days, I got the same responses. Sorry, Miss Su, you're excellent, but you're not quite suitable for us. Sorry, I hope you find a suitable job. He started to exert pressure on the industry again. Suddenly, no one dared to hire me. Throughout the day, as soon as those people heard my name, they would wave their hands. Some didn't even have the patience to listen to my self-introduction. It was as if they were saying, see, Sun Yan, without me, you're nothing. As long as I want, you can't even find a job to make a living. He was forcing me to admit my mistake and go back to him obediently. Lin Yu was also locked up. It should be Jiang Qie's doing. Jiang Qie's parents divorced when he was a child. His mother took Lin Yunian and remarried, and then had Lin Yu. leaving the 10-year-old Jiang Qia with his cheating father. Lin's mother explained, I'm sorry for this son. He hardly ever asked me for anything, so, it's okay, I understand. I hung up the phone again. On the screen, a prominent date caught my eye. It was the 25th. There were only a few days left until I had to transfer money to the welfare home. Suddenly, the director of the welfare home called. She sounded a bit cautious on the other end. Nian Nian, how are you recently? I put away my frustrated feelings and explained. Director, I'll transfer the money in a few days. Now, Nian Nian, the director just means you should take good care of yourself. I've also sent you some food. By the way, the tape was repaired before, and I sent it to you together. She babbled on. Okay. I hung up the phone in a hurry. The string that had been taut in my heart finally broke, and I burst into tears. My mother left when I was 6. That man didn't care whether I lived or died and was drunk and gambled all day. In the end, it was the director who took me in. I had long regarded the welfare home as my home. I took a deep breath. My finger moved to Jiang Qia's number. Ring, ring, ring. A strange number called. Hello, is this Miss Su? You signed up for a piano competition before, right? My heart skipped a beat, and I immediately replied, yes, yes. Who is this? Congratulations. Given your outstanding performance in your previous resume, the judges have decided to let you directly enter the finals. We'll send the specific competition time to your phone. Best regards. Okay, okay. After hanging up the phone, I pressed the phone tightly to my chest. I couldn't calm down for a long time. There was a warm, wet feeling on my hand. I quickly looked up, forcing back my tears. This was good news. A month ago, Jiang Qia unilaterally cancelled my registration, leaving me without the qualification to participate in the preliminary round. This was the first time I got angry at Jiang Qia. Fortunately, when I signed up, I also sent some of my works to the judges. Soon, the day of the national piano competition arrived. Jiang Qia also came. However, he came with Su Jing in the waiting room. A professional makeup artist was doing her makeup and matching her with a dress. I quietly sat in the corner, continuing to familiarize myself with the sheet music. Although I had practiced it no less than 100 times, I was still nervous, with thin sweat on my palms. Sun Yen, I will definitely win this award. She said it with great confidence. When it was her turn to go on stage, she bumped into my shoulder hard. As she passed by me, she lowered her voice and said, Qia has promised me. When the girl's fingertip landed on the first piano key, my heart sank suddenly. The tune was almost exactly the same as the sheet music that Lin Yubai had given me. Su Jing played really well. After she finished her performance, several judges in the audience applauded. Soon, it was my turn to go on stage. This was a piece of music that the young man had written specifically for me. It was not until many years later that I understood that he was telling me that when you're at the bottom, every step is upward. Now, I wanted to play it for him as my fingers danced. The melodious piano sound from my phone slowly flowed in the hall. The pitch dropped, carrying a sense of almost desperate depression. Gradually, some people noticed something was wrong. Yes, my piece had a very similar tune to Su Jing's. Some people in the judges group started to say, Student, it seems you plagiarized. My fingers didn't stop. I hadn't finished yet. Student, let her play it out first. Another older judge stopped them. The rhythm in the middle part became soothing. The tune gradually reached a climax along with the owner's emotions. It stopped abruptly near the end. Everyone thought the performance was over and was just about to clap when, the next moment, an even more intense performance sounded, stunning everyone in the empty stage. When the piece ended, the venue was quiet for a moment, and then there was thunderous applause. Someone with sharp eyes immediately said, Student, your hand is bleeding. I ignored it and went to the waiting room to look for Su Jing with a blank expression. Well, she wasn't there. There was only one place she could be. Ignoring the shouts from the crowd, I walked straight towards the man off the stage. Sure enough, Su Jing was pulling Jiang Qia's hand, acting coquettishly. I really want this award. Seeing me walking over with blood-covered hands, she shrank into the man's arms and looked at me timidly. The man's gaze shifted downward, and his expression was unreadable. Blood dripped from my fair palm onto the floor. I moved quickly, grabbed her, and slapped her hard. Are you courting death? With my other hand, I took the blade that I had pulled out from the piano key and slashed towards Su Jing's face. The girl had just recovered from the slap and immediately hid behind the man. Save me, she's crazy. That's enough, Sun Yen. My hand was stopped in mid-air. I met the man's dark eyes and said calmly, she hid a blade on the piano key during the competition. are you going to take her side too? The man lowered his eyes, his gaze cold and indifferent. Fine. I took out my phone to call the police. The phone was snatched away from me and thrown hard against the wall. Suddenly, the venue fell into a strange atmosphere. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw someone holding up their phone to record. The man bent down and whispered a warning. Sun Yen, if you call the police now, you won't get anything. A hot feeling welled up in my nose. Okay, I won't call the police, I won't pursue anything. As long as I can get this award, it doesn't matter. I held back my tears and bent down to pick up the phone. Miss Sue, go to the hospital first. The judge finally came to his senses and helped me leave. Wait, the man spoke again. Are you leaving just like that after hitting someone? His voice carried a faint sense of oppression. Sun Yen, apologize. I turned back. The man's eyes were cold, with a hint of impatience. But before I could take a few steps, I fainted. Finally, someone reacted. Ambulance, ambulance. The scene fell into chaos again. Lin Yubai. I did it. The moment I fell, I saw a vague figure running towards me. Lin Yubai, was it you? I tried to raise my hand with difficulty, but I couldn't hold on and fainted. When I woke up, the doctor told me that I could never play the piano again. I didn't say anything. The doctor also seemed a bit embarrassed. It seemed that he also felt sorry. When I was sent to the hospital, he had heard the whole story and tried to comfort me. Girl, life is long. There are plenty of fish in the sea. I looked at my hands, which were wrapped like zongzi, and softly said okay. When my friend Lin Chichi, who was out of town, heard that I was injured, she rushed over immediately. Looking at my 2 hands wrapped like zongzi, she wailed, Nian Nian, I'm sorry. What are you sorry for? What does this have to do with you? I wanted to reach out and wipe her tears, but then I realized that I couldn't even lift my hands. She gently touched the gauze, her eyes red-rimmed. If I hadn't been so smart 6 years ago and called you to the bar, you wouldn't have met Jiang Chia, and these things wouldn't have happened. Actually, I didn't plan to pursue him at first, but when I saw him, I changed my mind. 6 years ago, my roommate Lin Chichi called me to the bar. Nian Nian, I'm drunk, come and pick me up. As soon as I arrived at the bar, Lin Chichi said mysteriously, I'll give you a surprise later. As she spoke, she pulled me into a private room. Her boyfriend was also there, and I didn't know anyone else. I felt extremely awkward. Since you're not drunk, I'll go back. I haven't written my thesis yet. Lin Chichi, why did you bring a good student here today? Someone teased. Lin Chichi retorted, mind your own business. She didn't forget to hold me down. Wait a minute, listen to me. Come on, I know what you're up to. I was a bit confused. I soon knew why. When the game started, the figure sitting in the corner finally woke up. The moment the black brim of his hat was taken off, I held my breath. She whispered in my ear, Nian Nian, what do you think? Am I loyal enough? I stared straight at the young man. Nian Nian, calm down a bit. Lin Chichi pinched me lightly. Only then did I notice that the others around were looking at me with some teasing in their eyes, especially that boy. I immediately lowered my head, my heart racing. For a moment, I even wanted to run away, but they had already started playing, and leaving now would be a buzz kill. I soon lost the game. My necklace was snatched away. Wait, before I could finish, it had been opened. Everyone in the room gasped. Oh no, I thought. I didn't dare to look up. Not bad, Brother Yi, you're so charming. What kind of magic spell did you cast on the senior sister? Everyone burst into laughter. I felt like my face was being roasted over a fire. It's not your photo, I said in a voice as soft as a mosquito's, but he still heard me. Jiang Chia raised his eyebrows with a smile. Oh, if it's not mine, then whose is it? I stopped talking. This defense was clearly very weak. Maybe I should have said it at that time. As soon as the competition video was released, it caused a huge stir. But the main reason wasn't the plagiarism, it was that the style of the piece was highly similar to that of the genius young man back then. Su Jing also didn't expect that the piece I prepared would be the same as hers. She quickly took out the original sheet music manuscript. The paper was already yellowed. After verification, there was no sign of forgery. She said that this piece of music was given to her by an old acquaintance. Everyone started to guess her relationship with Lin Yubai, but she didn't explain much. Oh, everyone, don't think too much. And I was accused of plagiarism. Suddenly, the internet was full of attacks and curses against me. The popularity remained high. As if someone was pushing it behind the scenes, it was Jiang Chia. He was avenging Su Jing and getting back at me for the day when Su Jing knelt in front of me. Nian Nian, they're all scolding you. Chi-Chi was indignant when she saw the online criticism of me. I smiled and asked, so, do you believe what they say? Am I crazy? You're my friend. I definitely stand by you. I leaned on Lin Chi-Chi's shoulder and smiled. Thank you. Subsequently, I made a phone call. I need your help. On the day of the awards ceremony, Jing on the stage was dressed beautifully. The blue gauze dress was adorned with glittering pink diamonds. On the live stream of the phone, she bowed and thanked with a smile. It was very lively until the large screen behind her started to switch content. It was an old tape. Hello, classmate Sun Yin. Teacher Lin is giving you extra lessons today. The young man's face was pale, and he smiled faintly. In the video, the young man's voice was gentle as he started to explain the playing essentials in detail. It was exactly the piece I played. At the end, the young man made a victory sign towards the camera. Anyway, I think you will definitely become a pianist. When that time comes, you'll stand on the high podium, and I will definitely come to watch you. This was the recording of Lin Yubai's life. The director sent it to me a few days ago. The moment I knew that Lin Yubai and Jiang Qia were brothers, I guessed what Jiang Qia was going to do. He had always been unscrupulous. Lin Yubai was his elder brother, and it wasn't difficult for him to get the music composed by Lin Yubai during his lifetime. The situation reversed instantly, and the scene was once in chaos. All the microphones in the audience were pointed at Su Jing's side. The reporters who had been arranged in advance swarmed up. Miss Su, is this true? Miss Su, don't you feel guilty for doing these things? Su Jing panicked and stumbled off the stage. As her heels were too high, she fell directly. I watched the live stream and slowly raised the corners of my mouth. What's the point of winning all at once? I wanted to lift her to the clouds and then make her fall. The editor-in-chief was a fan of Lin Yubai. When the competition video of Su Jing was released, she came to me and said she was willing to help me. She said that 7 years ago, her childhood sweetheart, with whom she had been in love for 10 years, cheated on her. Her parents and her aunt's family went on a trip and got into a car accident. Only she survived. She had a mental breakdown and started electro-shock therapy, a total of 12 times. After leaving the hospital, she regarded her lover as her only spiritual pillar until one day, she found that her boyfriend was sending ambiguous messages to a new colleague. The only spiritual pillar in her world suddenly collapsed. She went to many hospitals. In the last hospital, she managed to gather enough sleeping pills. Suddenly, a melodious piano sound came from a room. She stopped there and listened to the piece. The piano sound was bright, brisk, and full of courage to turn this situation around in adversity. The young man noticed her and gave her a sentence. When a person is at the bottom, every step is upward. So, she figured it out. During that dark time, it was Lin Yubai's piano sound that gave her the hope to live. So as soon as she heard the piano sound, she knew that Su Jing was the plagiarizer, because the sheet music in Su Jing's hand was the initial version. She was going to interview me about the story between me and Lin Yubai. I raised the corners of my mouth towards the cold camera and started to tell the story of my 8-year-long secret love. It only took a short month from the first acquaintance to falling in love. Opposite the welfare home was a hospital. I met Lin Yubai at the welfare home. He was being treated in the hospital and often sneaked to the welfare home to play with the children. I did odd jobs at the welfare home to earn tuition fees. I never went home except at night. He seemed to have noticed but didn't say anything. I'll teach you. The young man led me to sit down. His broad back always kept a proper distance, yet it had already made the young girl's heart flutter. The fresh scent of laundry soap lingered at the tip of her nose. His well-defined fingers guided the girl's hands to dance nimbly on the piano keys. Later, my father found out. He rushed over, grabbed my hair, and started cursing. He was always generous with all kinds of vulgar and nasty words, just like he used to beat my mother. Fortunately, my mother was smart and ran away when I was 6. It was a good thing she left, or else both of us would have been beaten on the day that crazy man came. Unfortunately, he happened to see the young man holding my hand to teach me. No wonder you've been coming home later and later, so you've been seducing people outside. You're even learning the piano now. Do you want to seduce men like your mother? The man snatched the yellowed sheet music and tore it into pieces that fluttered like snow in the air. I stared intently at the sheet music, which turned into a glaring red in my world. Get out. The man's hand holding the fruit knife paused, and he immediately dropped it and ran away. You rushed at me yourself. It has nothing to do with me, the man sneered, showing his yellow teeth that seemed not to have been brushed for ages. A cold glint flashed in his eyes. He had a knife, so I immediately ran away. The man grabbed my hair and dragged me back. The dull sound of the knife stabbing into the flesh rang out. It was Lin Yubai. He grabbed the stabbing knife, and a warm liquid slowly dripped onto my face. It's not me. He rushed at me himself. He only dared to hit his family. The man stepped back in fear and didn't notice the loose railing behind him. He fell, and his body was pierced by a rusty iron frame. Thus, the haze of my childhood was dispelled, but he still smiled and comforted me. Sun Yin, it's okay, I asked with a trembling voice. You don't you have a competition to attend? That competition was clearly very important to him. I held the young man's hand, trembling, and tears kept falling. It's okay. The young man didn't seem to care much and then changed the subject. Just blow on it for me. Nyen nyen. He couldn't participate in the competition anymore. But he comforted me instead. These hands have served their greatest purpose in this life. Don't cry, Nyen nyen. If you cry, I'll want to cry too. His pale fingertips lifted the corners of my lips. Okay, I won't cry that month. After that, the young man still couldn't hold on for a month. He left me a card. Inside was the prize money from his competitions over the years later. With that money, I successfully finished high school and college. The judges quickly found out the truth. 7 years later, I finally stood on that big stage. This time, I stood on the stage in place of that young man back then, feeling the world's warm approval of him under the bright lights. I felt a gaze. Through the crowds, a familiar figure looked over from the audience. Lin Yubai. After receiving the award, I couldn't wait any longer. I lifted my skirt and rushed off the stage. Behind me, the host was chasing after me. I kicked off my high heels and ran. When I reached the door, the figure disappeared. Congratulations, you did it. Lin Yu suddenly rushed out and handed me the prepared bouquet of flowers. Seeing my confusion, he looked in the direction I was looking at. What's wrong? I shook my head, smiled, and took the flowers. It's okay. I saw the wrong person. It didn't matter. I had already won the award. This piece of music was later included in the textbook, but it was hard for anyone to play it with that same feeling. 27. The story of me and Lin Yubai quickly became popular on various media. Many top-tier bloggers came to me for permission to tell this story, all wanting to interpret it. Even advertisers came to me for product endorsements. I refused them all. After breaking up with Jiang Qia, I realized that there was only one Lin Yubai, and no one could replace him. Besides, I didn't want to profit from him. Cheating in a large-scale competition would not end well. Su Jing's score was cancelled this time, and she was also banned from participating in any large-scale competitions. The judges group also re-examined Su Jing's competitions over the years. They found that there were several competitions where she was suspected of plagiarism. Sure enough, Su Jing's method was to copy and patch from different sources, stitching together the highlight parts of others' works to create her new pieces. The victims also came forward to testify. Now Su Jing was completely exposed. The incident of hiding a blade in the piano also came to light. It was considered intentional injury, but because my injury was not serious, she was only detained for about 10 days. Basically, she couldn't survive in the industry anymore. After coming out, Su Jing went to find Jiang Qia, but she couldn't even get past the doorman downstairs of the apartment. When everything was over, the procedures for my going abroad were ready. I don't know how Su Jing got the news, but she came looking for me. It's all your fault that I'm in such a mess now. Just as I got up and was about to go through the security check, a person in a baseball cap beside me suddenly stood up. Don't move, or I'll pour sulfuric acid on your face. I didn't dare to move, she said resentfully. You like Jiang Qia, don't you? Call him to come and save you. Actually, I don't like Jiang Qia. Su Jing was suddenly taken aback and obviously didn't believe me. If you don't like him, why did you stay by his side for so long? Because he's handsome, and he doesn't like me either. Really? She seemed a bit shaken. Of course, you and him are the most suitable. He was probably with me to make you angry. Taking advantage of the moment she was thinking, I quickly turned my head and gave her an elbow strike. I quickly broke free from her control. She was stunned by my blow. When she came to her senses, the security guards had surrounded her. The bottle was still thrown over. In the next instant, a figure immediately pulled me away and blocked me. A muffled groan came from above my head. It was Jiang Qia. Smoke rose from the shirt on his back. Some of the acid had splashed on him. Su Jing was taken away. She had just come out and now she was going back in. She would probably have to receive some more education from the police. I pursed my lips and didn't push him away for a moment. I looked up, and we stared at each other in silence. He raised his lips and gave a bitter smile. What are you looking at? I'm leaving. Okay. His eyes were red, and he gradually let go of me. Maybe it was because of the pain. I turned around and was about to walk towards the boarding gate. Sun Yen. Jiang Qia called out to me. The scar has been removed. Can I chase you this time? It's okay if I'm a substitute. His voice was choked. He took my hand and placed it on his brow, as if this could bring us back to the past. Indeed, it was well done, except that the touch was a bit different from the surrounding skin. There was nothing else. Even the mole was carefully added. Everything seemed to be back to normal, as if that young man had appeared again, but it was still not the same as before. When he was injured, he ate the soy sauce chicken wings made by Su Jing. Anyway, things were different. I was also tired. I didn't want to revolve around him anymore. I kept the man's face and said softly, Jiangxia, do you remember what I said when I was chasing you? The man's movements paused, and his long eyelashes fluttered slightly. It seemed that he remembered. He left, his back seemingly a bit hunched. I withdrew my gaze and turned to walk towards the security check entrance. So on that morning, I left yesterday behind, and from then on, my steps became extremely light. The next time I saw Jiangxia was 2 months after I arrived abroad. I had just finished my teaching task and was going to have a hot meal with my colleagues. It was snowing at the school. We looked at each other across the street. Jiangxia was the first to turn his head away. I asked my colleagues to go first. After ordering food, I took off my scarf and put it aside. How have you been? He seemed a bit nervous. Very well, and you? I'm getting married. He looked at me, his eyes filled with complex emotions. Then, I raised my glass of red wine. Congratulations. I don't need friends like you. I couldn't forget the harm he had done to me. Okay, I understand. Hey, I called out to him. His shoulders were trembling, but he never looked back. Be nice to her. That was all I had to say. I didn't know why he was here, and I didn't want to know. In my impression, he was afraid of America. Maybe Su Jing broke up with him because she was going to study in America. But it didn't matter. Anyway, those things had nothing to do with me. I lived my life in an orderly manner. I regularly sent living expenses to the welfare home. Every year, I would go back to see that young man who was always sunny and passionate. The judge teacher came to me later and gave me an idea. I could cooperate with piano merchants. I established a charity foundation in the name of Lin Yubai to help those children who were talented in piano and willing to work hard. As long as the children met the requirements, they could get the foundation's support until they reached adulthood. Later, I didn't get married, but I had many children. In a way, everything was developing in a good direction. The end, male leads extra story **. What's so good about America? He didn't understand why one after another person wanted to go there. Who was there when he was 8 years old? His father cheated. His mother chose to take his twin brother and go to America. He hated them to death. Since then, there was no news from them. Even when his mother and brother came back to China for treatment later, he never went to see his sick eldest brother cancel her registration. He did it on purpose. He knew very well that if she participated in the competition, she would surely get the spot for overseas study. So the way to keep her by his side forever was to prevent her from participating, get injured in a drag race. He didn't have many special hobbies since childhood, and racing was one of them. How could Sun Yan know? She never wanted to spend time getting to know him. I could tell she was very angry about the cancellation of her registration. 1 day, 3 days, 1 week, until the 4th week. There was no news from her on his phone. Zhao Ming told him that Su Jing was back. Su Jing, who was she? Oh, he remembered. She was the ex-girlfriend who took 5 million from his step-mother and left 7 years ago. He frowned and looked at Zhao Ming. Annoyed, what does it have to do with me? Regarding the matter 7 years ago, he was being kind enough not to cause trouble for Su Jing. As if thinking of something, the man glanced at his phone again. There was still no news in the top-pinned WeChat chat. He looked at the message from 4 weeks ago. Sun Yan, have you eaten? He didn't reply. After that, Sun Yan indeed came to bring him food. His fingers twitched, and he lowered his eyes to reply. A red exclamation mark appeared. She was really angry. Well, she also blocked his phone number. He suddenly realized that in this abnormal relationship, Sun Yan was actually the one in charge. It was always Sun Yan who took the initiative to find him. Once she wanted to leave, he could hardly know her whereabouts. What did Zhao Ming say just now? That Su Jing was back. He asked Zhao Ming to take him to the racetrack. When the car hit the railing, he suddenly laughed. Getting injured was the simplest and most direct way. This time, she should calm down. Sure enough, she came quickly. She finally showed that extremely worried look again later. Her hand was injured. It was Su Jing who did it, and I have to admit that there was my acquiescence in it. Later, he saw the woman's interview on the phone, smiling and telling her youth story to the camera. The private room was filled with smoke. Zhao Ming suddenly didn't know how to persuade him. Should he say that Sun Yan's white moonlight was that amazing piano genius, his eldest brother? Should he say that Sun Yan only loved his face, or should he say that everything he did to get Sun Yan's attention was just a joke? Finally, he put the photo on the table. The young man in the photo resembled Jiangxia by 6 parts, especially the mole on the left eyebrow. Thus, the 6-part resemblance became 9-part. How could Jiangxia compete with a dead person? He wasn't that low. Click. He pressed the lighter and stared fixedly at the flame engulfing the photo. That Annoying face soon disappeared from his sight. It didn't matter, he suddenly laughed. So she knows what is love. She just didn't love him. He laughed until tears came out. It should be Sun Yan in the hospital gown. Why was he the one who got sick on the day he was with Sun Yan? Her eyes sparkled when she looked at him. He thought it was a bit funny. She really had no dating experience. Later, he vaguely sensed that Sun Yan didn't seem to love him, because for the girls who frequently appeared around him, Sun Yan always had that very obedient expression. He had dated several girls, but none of them reacted like Sun Yan. Somehow, he found that expression annoying. He knew Sun Yan's reaction was wrong. As his legitimate girlfriend, she should be angry and tell him that she didn't like other people getting close to him. But no, not even once. The only time he saw a ripple in her eyes was when he was injured. Later, she stood under the spotlight, smiling brightly. Confident and radiant, Jiang Qie suddenly realized that he seemed to have really fallen in love with Sun Yan, so he thought being a substitute was okay. After that, Jiang Qie went to America to find her. She seemed not to want to give him a chance. Her voice was very calm, almost emotionless. She reminded him of what she said when she was with him 6 years ago. 6 years ago seemed like yesterday. Why do you like me? Jiang Qie asked, biting on a cigarette. Because you have the face of my first love. She answered honestly. At that time, he smiled and pinched Sun Yan's chin. No one has ever dared to treat me as a substitute. You're really brave. After that day, he tacitly allowed the girl to get close. Sun Yan pursued him steadfastly for 3 months, and he found it interesting, because no one had ever been so thick-skinned. Later, he had Sun Yan investigated. He didn't find anything, so he didn't take her words seriously. No phone call. His elder brother, a guy who had been dead for a long time. 18 years ago, his mother chose him. 18 years later, Sun Yan also chose his elder brother. In a way, he bought a plane ticket to America to see her. She was afraid of the cold and dressed a lot, but because of her slender figure, she didn't look bulky. He suddenly remembered that last winter, she was still by his side. Sun Yan buried her entire chin in the scarf, and her small face was flushed from the cold. She chattered like a bird. Jiang Qie, let's go watch the fireworks. Jiang Qie, let's go to the night market, he said. I'm getting married. The woman was a bit startled but quickly offered her blessings. The marriage was real. Her indifference was also real. His father seemed to remember that he had a son and arranged a blind date partner for a marriage of convenience, that Miss Zhao already had a boyfriend. She asked him to pretend to date her for a while. He thought to himself, this is really funny. What does your happiness have to do with me? As soon as this thought came to his mind, his fingertips paused. He gradually realized why both his mother and Sun Yan chose his good elder brother. Because if it were Lin Yubai, for this kind of request, he would put on a fake-looking smile and take the initiative to go back and blame the failure of the blind date on himself. Miss Zhao waved her hand and asked eagerly, Mr. Jiang, is that okay? Okay.